Chapter 538. Qin Haodong glared at him and said, "Don't be happy too early. Improving your cultivation is only the first step. Your actual combat ability is still far from enough." After that, he took Zhou Tao to the yard and raised his hand to call Saber and the others over. "From now on, I'll leave this guy to you until tomorrow noon. You must train him well. If you lose to the Koreans tomorrow, find a piece of tofu and kill yourself." Saber glanced at Zhou Tao, moved his wrist and said, "Don't worry, boss. We will make you satisfied." Qin Haodong patted Zhou Tao on the shoulder and turned to leave. Sword said, "Come on, little guy. I'll suppress my cultivation to the same level as you. Let's play together." Zhou Tao had just reached the 3rd level of covert power. He felt that there was endless power all over his body. He was full of self-confidence. Naturally, he would not be afraid of the challenge of Sword. He moved his feet and rushed over. However, his self-esteem was soon beaten back to reality. Sword grabbed his wrist and threw him out with a gentle pull. He fell on the lawn with a plop. Saber said, "The strength is wrong, the method is wrong, and the heat is wrong. In short, you are too weak." Zhou Tao jumped up from the ground, unconvinced. Again? As members of the Divine Mercenaries, these people had walked on the edge of a knife. They had experienced countless dangers and even faced death countless times. Their moves and experience were honed in the environment of life and death. Naturally, Zhou Tao, the young master, could not compare with them. Therefore, even if Sword suppressed his cultivation to the same level, Zhou Tao was not his opponent. However, under the guidance of Saber, Whip and others, Zhou Tao made rapid progress. At the beginning he could not resist one move. Slowly he improved to 2 or 3 moves. His skills and experience were improving every second. Qin Haodong returned to the room and gave a few energy-gathering pills to Ma Wenjue, Lin Momo, and others. Finally he came to Jia Shirhan's room. He took the energy-gathering pill and said, "Shirhan, did your master say that we can use the pill to unlock the seal?" "Master said that as long as it can be unlocked, it's fate. It should be possible." "Then eat this pill and see if it has any effect." After Qin Haodong finished speaking, he sent the energy-gathering pill to Jia Shirhan. Jia Shirhan took it and put it into her mouth. After a long time, she shook her head and said, "Little brother, there's no reaction." Qin Haodong was slightly disappointed. The seal was really strange. It seemed that he could only find a way slowly. The next day classes began on Monday. When everyone arrived at school, the news that the Taekwondo Club would challenge the Wuxia Martial Arts Club again had spread like wildfire. After the last class, everyone flocked to the Taekwondo Club. This time, the number of people who came to watch the show was much more than the last time. The hall that could accommodate 1,000 people was packed to the brim, and many people found it difficult to get a seat. Qin Haodong took Li Meiyu, Nailin Wushuang, and the others to the clubhouse and found that Zhou Tao had prepared a special coach's seat next to the arena. Even a leather sofa was prepared. Tea, coffee, and all kinds of drinks were prepared. "Boss, you're here?" Although there were 2 panda eyes on his face, he still couldn't hide the excitement in his heart. Last night, he had been trained by Saber and several others in turn. He was so excited that he wanted to die. However, his progress was also obvious. He was able to survive 100 moves with long sword, which made him full of confidence for today's challenge. Not bad. Qin Haodong nodded to Zhou Tao and was about to sit down on the sofa. At this time he heard someone next to him shouting, "Qin Haodong, you heartless man." Originally, everyone was waiting to watch the competition in the arena. When they heard this shout, they immediately turned their eyes to this side. Qin Haodong turned his head and saw the sexy campus belle Li Jiomei standing beside him with her hands on her hips, looking unfriendly. It was no wonder that she was angry. On Friday afternoon she waited for 2 hours on Gentleman Mountain, but she did not see Qin Haodong's shadow. For so many years, it had always been others chasing after her and no one had ever stood her up. Naturally she was furious. Under the gaze of thousands of people, Qin Haodong was speechless and said in a low voice, "Sister, when did I provoke you? Let me ask you, why did you stand me up?" Li Jiomei's expression changed extremely quickly, from aggressive just now to infinite grievance, like a delicate little wife. "I didn't agree to go at all. How can you say that I stood you up? I don't care. You must apologize to me." Li Jiomei said unruly. It was said that every woman was born to be an actress. Qin Haodong finally saw it. With such good acting skills she did not need to study at the medical college. It would be better to go directly to the Wuxia Drama Academy. "Sister, I did nothing wrong. Why should I apologize?" "If you don't apologize, then I will announce in public that I am pregnant with your child." Qin Haodong almost fell to the ground. He really had no way to deal with such a girl who did not follow the rules. He could only hang the white flag. "I'm sorry, madam. It's my fault, okay?" "That's more like it." Li Jiumei no longer blamed him. She said with a sweet smile, "It just so happens that I can't find a seat. Your sofa is good. I'll accompany you to watch the competition." After that, she held Qin Haodong's arm generously and sat down on a sofa. "This is not good, is it? Why don't you go somewhere else?" As soon as Qin Haodong sat down, he felt the murderous intent from Li Meiyu. "Are you going to drive me away? Is this the attitude of an apology?" Li Jiumei did not intend to leave. On the contrary, she held his arm tighter, and her full chest brought him great pressure. "Fox, let go of me!" Li Meiyu burst out. Li Jiumei looked up at her and said jokingly, "Why should I let go of you just because you ask me to?" Li Meiyu said angrily, "Shameless. He is my boyfriend. Why do you have to hold him?" "Your boyfriend? Do you have a certificate?" "I said he is my boyfriend," Li Jiumei said as she tightened her arm. The huge sense of oppression made Qin Haodong feel more and more embarrassed. This woman deserved to be called the sexy campus belle. She did have enough capital. "Let go of me." "I said I won't let go. It's my arm. I can hold whoever I want." Seeing that the tension between the two of them was getting stronger and stronger, Qin Haodong quickly persuaded, "Okay, stop arguing. Don't make a fool of yourself." Li Jiumei did not leave and Li Meiyu could not do anything about it. In the end, she sat on the other side of the sofa angrily and held Qin Haodong's other arm tightly. Originally, this sofa was very spacious and more than enough for one person to sit on, but it was a little crowded for 2 people, and it was even more crowded for 3 people. Under the watchful eyes of the public, Qin Haodong immediately became the focus of the audience, attracting countless envious and hateful eyes. But he had no choice. He could not afford to provoke these 2 girls now. On the stand next to him, 2 handsome young men were sitting together. They looked at Qin Haodong, who was squeezed between the 2 campus belle. One of them looked gloomy, and the other's eyes flashed with hatred. These 2 were the other 2 of the 4 Prince Charming, Zheng Hongda of the Zheng family and Sun Jin of the Sun family. They were surrounded by their respective bodyguards. Sun Jin smiled at Zheng Hongda and said, "What's wrong? Are you jealous, young Master Zheng?" Zheng Hongda did not speak, but his face became more and more ugly. He liked Li Jiumei and had pursued her for several years. This was a well-known fact in the medical college. But for some reason, Li Jiumei had no feelings for him at all. She just refused him. But now Li Jiumei was so intimate with Qin Haodong in public, which made him feel like he had been cheated on. Sun Jin said again, "Young Master Zheng, what do you think of my proposal? As long as we work together, we can get this guy in prison. At that time, the sexy campus belle will still be yours." Zheng Hongda said, "I heard that your old master has ordered that no one is allowed to provoke this guy. You openly violate the family rules. Aren't you afraid of being punished by the old man?" Sun Jin said, "The old man is old and has lost his courage. He doesn't even dare to fart when he is being bullied. But he is just timid. He must hate this guy in his heart. As long as I get Qin Haodong into prison, the old man will definitely look at me with new eyes and maybe he will let me be the heir of the family master. But this matter must be kept secret, so I can't use much power. That's why I need your help. This matter is good for both of us. I don't think you have any reason to refuse." Zheng Hongda hesitated for a moment and finally said, "Okay, I agree. You do the first thing and leave the rest to me." Sun Jin smiled proudly and said, "Great. Let's wait and see." At this time, on the other side of the ring, the people of the Taekwondo club also arrived. Jin Ingquan and Qishuan and Piao Zaixiang came in with 2 young people, a man and a woman. Qin Haodong glanced at them. The man and the woman were like the male and female protagonists in idol dramas. The man was handsome and chic and the woman was beautiful and sweet. Both of them had a kind of noble air from big families. It could be seen that their backgrounds were not ordinary. In terms of cultivation, the man had reached the first level of covert power, and the woman had reached the second level of covert power. It seemed that the emergency special training for Zhou Tao was still very necessary. Otherwise, with his previous strength, he would not be able to take today's challenge at all. Cousin, please sit down." Jin Ingquan respectfully asked the 2 of them to sit in the first place. The man's name was Kim Jisung and the woman's name was Kim Ji-hyun. Like him, they were both from the Kim family of Koryo. However, he was an outer disciple of the Kim family, while the 2 of them were the core members of the 3rd generation. Kim Jisung and Kim Ji-hyun were the best of the 3rd generation of the Kim family. Their cultivation had even entered the level of covert power. This time they represented the Kim group to participate in a financial summit in Wuxia. In order to get back the face he had lost, Kim Ji-sung said a lot of good words to invite them to the medical college. This was also the reason why he issued the challenge letter. Kim Ji-sung said proudly, "Tell Wuxia to prepare for the competition immediately. Our time is very precious. We need to help you deal with these people as soon as possible. There are still many things to do." Kim Ji-hyun frowned and said, "Brother, you can't be too careless. Don't forget Grandpa's words. You can despise anyone but you can't despise Wuxia. Wuxia has always been a place with many hidden dragons and crouching tigers." Kim Ji-sung waved his hand and said indifferently, "Grandpa is afraid that we will be proud. Or we? We are the geniuses of the whole Koryo. How can we be afraid of Wuxia people? Moreover, I have seen all the videos brought by Inkwon. Although I don't know what strange means that Wuxia boy used to quickly improve the cultivation of those people, it is only below the level of covert power. Once the cultivation reaches our level, that kind of dirty means will be useless. Let's see how I will teach them a lesson later." Kim Ji-hyun shook her head. Her brother was still too proud. I'm afraid that he would only learn a lesson after suffering a big loss. Chapter 539. Jin Inkwon stepped onto the ring and shouted to the Wuxia Martial Arts Club, "Zhou Tao, I don't know what dirty means you and that gigolo used last time to plot against our Taekwondo club. Today I've invited my cousin and cousin to show you what real Taekwondo is." Zhou Tao immediately became angry and shouted, "Bah! You don't want to admit it after losing and you even put the blame on me. Don't you Koryo people have any shame?" There was an uproar in the crowd. These Koreans are really too shameless. A loss is a loss and they're not going to admit it. Shameless, really too shameless. No wonder there are always some Koreans shouting that the Dragon Boat Festival is theirs, that Li Shizhen is theirs, and that Confucius is theirs. It turns out that their skin is too thick. Teach them a lesson. Since they aren't convinced, I'll give them a good slap in the face. Jin Inkwon shouted, "You're not convinced, right? Then come up and experience my cousin's power." After listening to him, Lee Wan-yong, Bai Kan and the others immediately gathered around Chin Haodong and said, "Boss, help us again. Let's go up and teach this guy a lesson." Last time they had shown their faces on the stage, but when they returned they found that the power in their bodies had disappeared. Although their cultivation had increased slightly, it was very small. These people knew that it must be Chin Haodong who had helped them, so they came over again to ask their boss to help them recreate the magic. Chin Haodong waved his hand and said, "It's useless. That guy has reached the level of covert power. It's useless for you to go up. In the end, you still have to rely on your own hard work on the path of martial arts. External help can only help you for a while but not forever." The King Kong talisman could improve a person's strength and defense, but it was only limited to the level of obvious strength. It was useless against a master of inward strength. Hearing this, Lee Wan-yong and the others could only nod and silently retreat to the side. "Don't worry, brothers. There's still me." Zhou Tao said energetically, "Don't worry, everyone. I will teach these guys a lesson for you today." After that, he jumped onto the ring and shouted to Jin Inkwon, "No matter who comes today, I will fight against them alone." With the help of Chin Haodong, he reached the third level of covert power overnight, which made him feel refreshed and confident. "Kid, don't be arrogant. Watch how my cousin teaches you a lesson," Kim Yankwon said as he got off the ring. Kim Ji-sung stepped up and glanced at Zhou Tao with disdain. He had seen the video given by Jin Inkwon before. The guy in front of him was at most at the 8th level of overt power, which was several levels lower than him at the first level of covert power. He said arrogantly, "Boy, don't say that I'm bullying you. I'll let you have 3 moves today." Since this guy was so arrogant, Zhou Tao smiled sinisterly. "You said it. Don't regret it." Kim Ji-sung said, "Are you kidding? It's not a big deal to deal with an opponent at your level. It's just a waste of time." Below the stage, Kim Ji-hyun frowned again. It seemed that her brother didn't listen to her words at all. He still underestimated the enemy. She didn't know why, but she felt that the young man in front of her wasn't simple. He gave her a great sense of crisis. "Since you're willing, then I won't stand on ceremony." After Zhou Tao finished speaking, he made a gesture of 8 extremes boxing, and then punched out fiercely. Kim Ji-sung raised his left hand and gently pushed it out. In his opinion, even 50% of his strength was more than enough to deal with a player at the level of overt power. Therefore he didn't use all his strength this time. But when his palm touched Zhou Tao's arm, it was like touching a mountain. He couldn't move it at all. "What's going on?" Kim Ji-sung suddenly panicked. Seeing that the fist was already in front of him, He was so flustered that he forgot the promise of letting Zhou Tao make 3 moves. He raised his right hand and also punched. With a muffled bang, the 2 fists collided. Kim Ji-sung felt as if his punch had hit a train that was speeding towards him. A huge force hit him, causing him to fly into the air and directly fall off the arena. 1 move. With just 1 move, Kim Ji-sung, who had just been arrogant, was knocked off the ring. Seeing that Zhou Tao had won so easily, the whole audience was thunderous and everyone cheered. Wuxia Kung Fu is the best in the world. Taekwondo is not worth mentioning at all, Zhou Tao said proudly to Qin Haodong. Boss, how was it? Did I do well? Qin Haodong rolled his eyes at him and said, you defeated such an arrogant waste. What's there to be proud of? When we go back, I'll ask Saber to give you more food. Zhou Tao's face suddenly turned bitter. In the stands, Zheng Hongda said, when did this guy become so powerful? If he defeats all the Koreans, your plan won't be easy to implement. Sun Jin said, don't worry. I have a backup plan. I'll let Qin Haodong come to the ring and then send him to prison. As soon as Kim Yankwon stepped down from the ring, he turned around and wanted to see how his cousin would teach Zhou Tao a lesson. But before he could see the situation on the ring, Kim Ji-sung fell in front of him. What's going on? He couldn't believe his eyes. Kim Ji-sung was known as a martial arts genius in Koryo. Although he was not as good as the genius girl Kim Ji-hyun, he had reached the level of covert power at his age. He was definitely one of the best among his peers. But such a person was knocked out of the ring as soon as he went up. When did Zhou Tao become so powerful? The Taekwondo Club and the Wuxia Martial Arts Club had been fighting against each other for so many years. He knew Zhou Tao's skills very well. How could a person who was not even as good as him defeat his cousin, who was at the level of covert power, in the blink of an eye? Toy boy, it must be that toy boy. If it weren't for him, Zhou Tao would never have become so powerful. Kim Ji-sung lay on the ground. First he was punched and then he fell heavily. His whole body was in pain. He struggled a few times but failed to stand up. He was an extremely arrogant person. This punch not only injured his physical body, but also shattered his arrogant heart. Seeing that Kim Yankwon was standing there in a daze and had no intention of helping him, he couldn't help but vent all his anger on him. What are you doing? Why aren't you helping me up? Only then did Kim Yankwon come to his senses. He hurriedly helped Kim Ji-sung up and helped him sit on a chair. Kim Ji-hyun came over and asked with concern, brother, are you okay? I'm fine. I don't believe that I can't beat this Wuxia boy. Kim Ji-sung struggled to stand up and wanted to go to the ring again. He was really not convinced that he had lost. Well, brother, you are really no match for that person. She saw it clearly from the audience. Although Zhou Tao had won by some tricks, Kim Ji-sung was still no match for him if they fought head-on. Kim Ji-sung stopped and cried, sister, you must avenge me. Kim Ji-hyun turned to look at Kim Yankwon and said, are you sure that the video you gave us is the latest one? Kim Yankwon said, cousin, those videos were recorded last Friday. There is absolutely no falsehood. Kim Ji-hyun frowned and said, it's really strange. Then why has this person's skill improved so much? Even if I go up, I'm not sure that I can win. Kim Yankwon gritted his teeth and said, it must be that toy boy's trick. Last time we were also defeated by him. At this time he felt very strange. It was obvious that Qin Haodong had not even been on the ring, but their Taekwondo club had been defeated by this person one after another. Kim Ji-hyun looked at Qin Haodong, who was hugging women on both sides. She had seen this man in the video last Friday. With just a few words of advice, the Wuxia Martial Arts Club had defeated the Taekwondo Club. This kind of magical ability was really amazing. Now she saw Qin Haodong in person, but she couldn't see any aura of a warrior. If it was really him who had improved Zhou Tao's cultivation from the overt power to the covert power in only 2 days, how powerful would this person be? If she knew that Qin Haodong had only used 2 hours to improve Zhou Tao from the 8th level of the overt power to the 3rd level of the covert power, she didn't know how surprised she would be. Kim Ji-sung cried, sister, you are too cautious. If that guy hadn't cheated, I wouldn't have lost. You must be able to defeat him. I'll give it a try. At this point, Kim Ji-hyun could only choose to fight on the ring. Zhou Tao stood on the ring and saw a super beauty coming up. He smiled playfully and said, Beauty, are you here to give me flowers or ask for my autograph? Do you want to pursue me because I'm so handsome? Cut the crap. I want to challenge you. Kim Ji-hyun said and made a Taekwondo starting gesture. Zhou Tao said, is there no one in your country? How can you let a woman come up? I never hit a woman. If you don't want to fight, you will admit defeat. Well, I'll make an exception for you. After Zhou Tao said that, he made a boxing gesture of 8 extremes boxing. Kim Ji-hyun didn't talk nonsense. Her steps were like butterflies arranging flowers. In the blink of an eye she came to Zhou Tao. Then with a sharp whistling sound she kicked Zhou Tao's face hard with her slender legs. Zhou Tao was secretly shocked. This woman's cultivation was even higher than Kim Ji-sung's. Judging from the strength of this kick, it was no worse than a man's. He quickly lowered his head and dodged the kick. However, Kim Ji-hyun's change of moves was extremely fast. After kicking in the air, she did not withdraw her leg. Instead, she drew a beautiful arc in the air and turned it into a side kick to his chest. Zhou Tao used an iron bridge, leaned back 90 degrees and dodged the kick again. Kim Ji-hyun's left leg fell, and with the help of the momentum, her body flew 360 degrees in the air, and her right leg chopped down. Oh my god, this little girl is really powerful. As soon as Zhou Tao raised his head, he saw another kick coming. It was impossible to dodge, so he could only punch up with both fists and take the kick head-on. When the fists and legs collided, he was shaken back 2 or 3 steps. He was secretly shocked by Kim Ji-hyun's skillful moves. If it hadn't been for the devil training of the divine mercenaries last night, he might have been defeated by this little girl. Then the two of them fought together. Although Kim Ji-hyun's cultivation was 1 level lower, she had practiced for many years, had rich fighting experience, and her moves were exquisite. For a time she was on par with Zhou Tao. Only then did Zhou Tao put away his contempt, calmed down, and slowly exerted his advantage in cultivation. After 10 minutes, he slowly became familiar with Kim Ji-hyun's moves and gradually began to gain the upper hand. Admit defeat, beauty. Otherwise I'll really have to destroy a flower. If you have the ability, defeat me first. How could Kim Ji-hyun give up so easily? She accelerated the speed of her attack. Zhou Tao was a little embarrassed. Facing a beauty like Kim Ji-hyun, he was reluctant to attack her face, and he felt that her chest and buttocks were not suitable. Although he had the advantage, it was not easy to win. Finally, he found a suitable opportunity and slapped Kim Ji-hyun on the back, sending her flying into the air and hitting the guardrail next to her with a bang. Chapter 540. Zhou Tao only used 30% of his strength in this punch, so Kim Ji-hyun was only sent flying and did not suffer any serious injuries. She put her hands on the guardrail, stood up, turned around and said, "I give up." As soon as she said that, the whole audience was in an uproar again. Everyone could see that this woman was the most powerful helper Kim Yang-won had invited. Now even she gave up, which meant that Taekwondo had lost to the Wuxia martial arts club again. After winning the competition again, Zhou Tao's face was full of pride. He stepped forward and said, "Beauty, are you interested? Leave your phone number and we can communicate more in the future." But before he finished speaking, he saw Kim Ji-hyun jump down from the ring, but she did not return to her side. Instead, she stepped in front of Chin Haodong. Zhou Tao suddenly widened his eyes and said, "What the f***ck, the Grandmaster is the Grandmaster after all." He just sat there without moving and the girls took the initiative to run over. His ability to pick up girls is better than mine. It seems that I not only have to learn kung fu from him in the future, but also the ability to pick up girls. Kim Ji-hyun said to Chin Haodong, "Can I have a word with you?" "What's the matter?" Chin Haodong took this opportunity to stand up, but the two women held him tightly. After trying twice he finally gave up. "Does it have anything to do with you that the cultivation of the person on the stage improved so fast? Did you teach him?" Chin Haodong said, "He stayed with me for a night yesterday. I had nothing to do so I gave him some advice." Kim Ji-hyun's beautiful eyes widened in an instant. "Do you mean that he improved so much in just one night?" She was known as a genius girl in choreo. Kim Ji-sung's pride was on the surface, but her pride was in her heart. She had never been convinced by anyone for so many years. But the young man in front of her didn't look older than her. He could defeat her after only one night of teaching Zhou Tao. She had no choice but to be convinced of his cultivation. Chin Haodong looked at her and said with a smile, "I heard that most of the women in your country look the same. But you seem to be a little special. You haven't had any surgery. It's all natural." Kim Ji-hyun didn't change the topic with Chin Haodong's words. She asked again, "What's your cultivation?" Chin Haodong smiled and said, "Beauty, it's not polite to ask that. It's like I asked you about your measurements. Can you tell me?" He had just met this woman for the first time. Of course he wouldn't reveal his background, so he counterattacked. However, to his surprise, Kim Ji-hyun said without hesitation, "Chest measurement 82, waist measurement 54, hip measurement 87. A devilish figure." Chin Haodong looked at her body a few more times. It seemed that she was not lying. She had practiced martial arts since she was a child, so her figure was not only curvy, but also had a unique beauty. Can you tell me now? Kim Ji-hyun persistently asked. Chin Haodong said, my cultivation is quite powerful anyway. Then can I become your disciple? Chin Haodong immediately shook his head. I dare not accept you as my disciple. Why? Are you afraid that your woman will be jealous? Chin Haodong glanced at Li Meiyu, who was full of killing intent, and Li Jiumei, who was full of ridicule. He smiled awkwardly and said, it has nothing to do with this. The key is that people of Koryo are too terrible. If I accept you as my disciple today, hundreds of years later, I will probably be your disciple. Many cultures in your country were originally inherited from Wuxia. Now what do you think? I don't need to learn them again, do I? After he said this, the people around immediately laughed, and even Li Meiyu's stiff face showed a smile. Kim Ji-hyun said, I'm not that kind of person, and I won't do anything to deceive my master. It's just that there are many people like that in your country. They can do anything. As long as they see something good, they will take it. Kim Ji-hyun thought for a moment, bit her lip and said, as long as you are willing to teach me martial arts, I can be your girlfriend. Chin Haodong quickly said, that's even more impossible. Don't you see? I'm too busy. And I don't dare to ask you to be my girlfriend. You people of Koryo always steal other people's things. Once I have a relationship with you, I may become a person of your country. At that time, our ancestors will climb out of their graves and fight with me. The people around burst into laughter again, and Kim Ji-hyun's face turned red. She said, what on earth do you want to teach me Wuxia martial arts? I can't do anything. Chin Haodong said, you said that this is Wuxia martial arts. If I teach it to you, it may become Koryo's. You are prejudiced? Chin Haodong said, is it prejudice? Well, when your country publicly admits that the Dragon Boat Festival is Wuxia's, Chuyuan is Wuxia's, Chinese is not something that you use, and the Compendium of Materia Medica is borrowed from Wuxia, then I will accept you as my disciple and teach you whatever you want to learn. Yes, if you want to learn Wuxia's things, you have to return what you have stolen first. First admit that Chuyuan is Wuxia's and Confucius is Wuxia's. No, you can't teach anything to the people of Koryo. Otherwise it will all be theirs. Chin Haodong's words made the people around feel happy, and they all shouted together. At this moment, several neon people in karate uniforms came in from the door. The leader was a man in his 20s with a mustache. He went straight to the ring and shouted to everyone under the stage, what bullshit Wuxia martial arts? What bullshit taekwondo? They can't compare with our neon karate. Anyone who is not convinced can come up to challenge us. Zhou Tao knew this man. He was the president of the Karate Association of Shanghai Medical College, Mitsui Jiro. However, this man had always been low-key, and his cultivation was much lower than that of Chin Haodong and Kim Yankwon. He was barely at the 5th or 6th level of overt power. Today he suddenly ran to the stage and shouted. He even challenged Wuxia Kung Fu and Taekwondo together. Kim Yankwon had just lost today's game, and he was so angry that he had nowhere to vent his anger. Seeing Mitsui Jiro belittling Taekwondo, he immediately shouted, how dare you be so arrogant here with your karate? If you have the ability, fight with me. Mitsui Jiro sneered and said, you were just beaten like a dog by the Wuxia people. What are you shouting for? If you want to challenge me, you can. Today my brother Mitsui Aina is here. If you are not convinced, just come up to the stage and I will show you what authentic neon karate is. After that he turned around and left the stage. Another neon man in a karate uniform came up to the stage. It was Mitsui Aina, Mitsui Jiro's brother. Chin Haodong frowned slightly. This guy had reached the 6th level of covert power. As long as he made a little more progress, he could become a superior ninja of neon. In the stands, Zheng Hongda said, is this the last move you prepared? Sun Jin said with a smile, of course. How can I bet all my trump cards on those guys? It turns out that they are really disappointing. They don't even have the qualification to let Chin Haodong come up to the stage. Mitsui Aina stood in the ring and glanced at the crowd contemptuously. He said in stiff Wuxia language, I'm standing here today. If you have the ability, you can defeat me. Isn't it just neon karate? What's there to be arrogant about? Let me do it. A figure jumped onto the ring. It was Kim Ji-sung, who had just been beaten down. This guy's injury was not too serious. After resting for a while, he had almost recovered. However, he had nowhere to vent his anger, so he wanted to vent it on Mitsui Aina. Mitsui Aina glanced at Kim Ji-sung disdainfully and said, useless thing. You have just been beaten like that. I really don't know who gave you the courage to challenge the warriors of neon. You're courting death. Take this. Kim Jisung shouted and his right leg flew up into the air. Like a huge long whip, he slapped Mitsui Aine's head fiercely. You're just a grain of rice. How dare you shine? Mitsui Aina seemed to have studied Wuxia culture very well. After using an idiom, his right leg also flew up fiercely. It was a whip kick against a whip kick. Bang, crack, ah, several kinds of sounds were mixed together. Then Kim Jisung flew back like a broken sack, and his right leg had turned into a V-shape. Qin Haodong shook his head. There was no suspense in this kind of competition between the first level of covert power and the sixth level of covert power. However, this guy was really ruthless and directly broke Kim Jisung's leg. Brother. Seeing that Kim Jisung was injured, Kim Ji-hyun rushed over and helped him up from the ground. Zhou Tao, who had just walked down from the stage, said, "Boss, I'll go up and teach this guy a lesson." Qin Haodong pushed Li Jiumei and Li Meiyu away, grabbed his arm and said, "You're too weak. You're no match for this guy. Let me do it." After that he stepped toward the ring. In the stands, Zheng Hongda said, "Is this the last move you've prepared?" Sun Jin said proudly, "How about it? Did you force Chen to come up to the stage?" Zheng Hongda nodded and said, "Yes, he's a master. Where did you find him?" Sun Jin said, "There's nothing that can't be done with money. It cost me 10 million yuan to hire this guy." Zheng Hongda said, "This guy is really powerful, but aren't you afraid that he'll be too powerful and directly destroy Qin Haodong?" Sun Jin said with a smile, "Isn't that better? You can directly destroy Qin Haodong and you won't have to do it." "But that's impossible. If he only had that little ability, he wouldn't have scared my old man like that. Although he didn't do anything in our Sun family, according to the speculation of the experts in our family, this guy's cultivation is at least above the supreme power realm. So if we want to defeat him, it's up to you, young Master Zheng." Zheng Hongda said, "Don't worry, I've already prepared people. They're waiting outside. When the time is right, they'll come in and arrest him." Qin Haodong didn't know this. He walked up to the ring step by step, attracting the attention of all the people present. Many people knew that he was an expert and many people knew that he was very powerful, but no one knew where his true strength lay. Now they could finally see him make a move. Everyone was looking forward to him teaching this arrogant Japanese a lesson. When he came to Mitsui Aina, Qin Haodong said, "I'll give you a chance. Now bow your head and apologize and then get out of here immediately." "Boy, how dare you talk to me like this? Are you tired of living?" Mitsui Aina said arrogantly, "Since you're here, let's do it. I promise I won't kill you." After that, he raised his leg and kicked Qin Haodong's head hard with a karate horizontal kick. The kick was so powerful that it whistled through the air. If Qin Haodong was kicked, he would lose half his life even if he didn't die. Qin Haodong's expression turned cold. This Japanese guy was really ruthless. He had to teach him a lesson. Thinking of this, he lifted his right leg slightly and kicked at Mitsui Aine's leg. Bang, crack. The sound of a broken leg rang out again. This was simply a replay of the scene where Mitsui Aina had just kicked Kim Jisung. His calf had also been kicked by Qin Haodong. Chapter 541. Just now, Mitsui Aina had kicked Kim Jisung's calf and was proud of himself. Unexpectedly, just a few minutes later, his calf was broken by Qin Haodong. After a short silence, the audience burst into warm applause. Many people guessed that Qin Haodong was a master, but they didn't expect him to be so powerful. Li Jiumei looked at his tall and straight figure, and her eyes were full of splendor. No one knew what she was thinking. Mitsui Aina held his injured calf and kept wailing and rolling on the arena. This time, he came to Wuxia with a business delegation from Neon to participate in the business summit in Shanghai. Last night, Mitsui Jiro found him and said that he would go to the Shanghai Medical College to fight and show the power of Neon Taekwondo. He could also get 10 million yuan. Of course, he would not refuse such a good thing, so he sneaked out. Originally, he thought that there would be no masters among these students and he could play whatever he wanted, but he didn't expect that the young man in front of him was so good that he had no ability to resist. Kim Jisung was just about to leave the Taekwondo club with the help of Kim Yankwon, but he saw the scene in the arena. He couldn't help but open his mouth in shock and his heart was in turmoil. Mitsui Aina had broken his leg with one kick, and Mitsui Aina was like a child in front of Qin Haodong. How big was the gap between him and Qin Haodong? It was unimaginable. Wouldn't it mean that Qin Haodong could break his meridians with a single leg hair? It was the first time that Zhou Tao had seen Qin Haodong fight and he was extremely excited. His grandmaster was really amazing. If he could have half of his cultivation, he would be satisfied. Sun Jin and Zheng Hongda sat on the stage. After the shock, a trace of ruthlessness flashed across their faces. Zheng Hongda picked up his mobile phone and sent a message. Soon, 7 or 8 policemen appeared at the door of the club and rushed straight to the arena. The leader was a middle-aged policeman in his 40s. After checking Mitsui Ayane's injury, he turned to Qin Haodong and said, "I'm Pan Shiji, the captain of the criminal police team in Xiqing district. Now you are suspected of intentional injury. Come back to the police station with me for investigation." Zhou Tao immediately jumped onto the arena and said to Pan Shiji, "What are you doing?" "We are fighting here. It's normal for some injuries. Why do you arrest him?" Pan Shiji said coldly, "We are enforcing the law. We don't care if you are having a martial arts competition or not." Qin Haodong's face immediately darkened. Pan Shiji was the captain of the crime squad in Xiqing district, and the medical college was in Dongqing district. Not to mention his cross-border law enforcement, it was impossible for him to catch up by plane if he hadn't prepared in advance. Therefore this was obviously a trap aimed at him. If he took out the certificate of an elder of the Xianyuan Pavilion, he could immediately solve the immediate predicament, but that would give the mastermind behind the scenes an advantage. Maybe that guy would make some evil mots. Since the other party had set up a trap, then he would make it bigger. He stopped the young master of the Zhou family who was about to explode. This is normal law enforcement. Don't make things difficult for him. Zhou Tao said anxiously, but, Qin Haodong said, "No buts. We'll listen to the arrangement of the police." Pan Shiji secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He was also afraid of causing public anger here. Once these students were angered, it would really be difficult to deal with. Seeing that Qin Haodong gave in, he waved his hand to the policeman behind him and said, "Cuff him and take him away." 2 policemen stepped forward and handcuffed Qin Haodong. At this moment, Kim Ji-hyun jumped onto the ring, stopped Pan Shiji and said, "Wait a minute, it's also a competition and his leg was also broken. Why did you only take Mr. Qin away? My brother's leg was also broken just now. Why didn't you take the murderer away with you?" Pan Shiji said, "He is from Neon, so we can't arrest him for the time being." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Captain Pan, you really solved the case quickly. You didn't even ask a word and you knew that this guy was from Neon. I really admire you." Pan Shiji was embarrassed. He knew that he had spilled the beans in a hurry. He quickly waved his hand to the 2 policemen and said, "Take him away." Qin Haodong smiled at Kim Ji-hyun and said, "Don't worry, I'll be fine." Although he hated people from Koryo, this little girl could stand up for him at a critical time, which left him a good impression. He followed Pan Shiji into the police car and drove away from the medical college in a flash. At the Taekwondo club, Sun Jin and Zheng Hongda looked at each other and smiled, their eyes full of pride. In particular, Sun Jin was secretly proud. He thought to himself, no matter how good your skills are, you are still played by me in the end. When you go to prison, don't think about coming out again in this life. He said, "Mr. Zheng, we have nothing to do anyway. Why don't we go and watch the fun together?" Zheng Hongda nodded and said jokingly, "Okay, let's go and see how this great master pleads guilty and accepts the law." He was also very satisfied with what had happened today. After he dealt with Qin Haodong, no one would dare to provoke Li Jiumei in the future. She was his woman, his exclusive property, and he would never allow others to touch her. They left the club proudly, but Qin Haodong's classmates were in a mess. Seeing him being taken away, many people became at a loss. Nailan Wushuang immediately called Nailan Wuxia, and Zhou Tao also called his sister Zhou Xinju without hesitation. Everyone showed their own abilities and tried their best to save Qin Haodong. In the crime squad of the Dongqing district, after receiving a call from Nailan Wushuang, Nailan Wuxia immediately drove to the crime squad of the Xiqing district. After leaving the medical college of the Devil clan, Pan Shiji was completely relieved. He was a member of the Zheng family, so he took the risk to go to the Dongqing district to do something for the young master of the Zheng family. Now it seemed that this matter was not difficult. It was just to deal with a student. After it was done, the young master of the Zheng family would definitely treat him well. Could be said that this was a rare good job. After returning to the crime squad, he got out of the car happily. When he looked up, he saw Nailan Wuxia with an angry face. He was stunned at first and then said, "Captain Nailan, what brings you to our crime squad of the Xiqing district?" Nailan Wuxia didn't want to talk nonsense with him at all. She pointed to Qin Haodong, who had been taken out of the car, and said, "Captain Pan, let me ask you, where did this person come from?" Pan Shiji's expression changed and he said with a cold face, "Captain Nailan, we the crime squad of the Xiqing district handle a case and report to you, right?" Nailan Wuxia sneered and said, "What? Don't you dare to say it? Captain Pan, let me ask you, is the Shanghai Medical College under the jurisdiction of your team?" Pan Shiji's expression froze. In terms of territorial jurisdiction, he had indeed overstepped the law. However, after being a policeman for so many years, he was experienced after all. Soon, he said with a smile, "Captain Naylan, I just went to the Shanghai Medical College to do something, and I happened to come across this case. As policemen, we can't just ignore it, so I brought him back." Naylan Wuxia still said with a straight face, "Well, in that case, Captain Pan, please hand over this case to our crime squad of the Dongqing district." Pan Shiji still wanted to punish Qin Haodong and make a contribution. How could he hand him over to Naylan Wuxia? He said, "Captain Naylan, I'm afraid this is not appropriate." Naylan Wuxia argued, "Captain Pan, what's wrong with it? This is originally a case of our Dongqing district, and it's not your Xiqing district's turn to handle it." Pan Shiji's face became cold this time. "Captain Naylan, don't think that I don't know that you have an unclear relationship with this guy. In order to prevent you from playing favorites, it's more appropriate to leave this case to our Xiqing district." Naylan Wuxia sneered and said, "Am I playing favorites or are you playing favorites? You even know the relationship between the suspect and me so quickly. Is it possible that Captain Pan can predict that Qin Haodong is going to commit a crime, or is there something else?" Pan Shiji didn't expect Naylan Wuxia's words to be so sharp, and he was speechless for a moment. Zheng Hongda and Sun Jin's car arrived at the crime squad first. They didn't get out of the car but sat in the car and observed everything in the yard. Zheng Hongda said, "Young Master Sun, you're right. Qin Haodong really has a special relationship with this woman. I can't believe he came here to ask for her." A look of jealousy flashed in Sun Jin's eyes. He said, "I don't know what kind of evil tricks this guy has used to cheat so many women, and all of them are the best." Zheng Hongda nodded and said, "This woman is really good. She is beautiful and capable. It's rare." Sun Jin said, "Is Captain Pan reliable? Will he hand her over?" Zheng Hongda smiled proudly and said, "Don't worry. He's a member of our Zheng family. He won't let her go without my order." Sun Jin said, "Then I'm relieved. Although this woman looks very powerful, we have her. She won't take her away." Zheng Hongda said, "Of course not. This is my place." As they said, Pan Shiji had no intention of handing her over. He said, "Captain Naylan, even if you tell me all the lies today, I'll never hand her over to you." Naylan Wuxia's face turned cold. "Captain Pan, since you don't follow the rules, don't blame me for not following the rules." After that, she strode toward Qin Haodong. Sun Jin's expression changed. What is this woman going to do? Is she going to take him away? Naylan Wuxia's action was beyond everyone's expectation. Before the two policemen who were guarding Qin Haodong could react, they had been pushed to the sides. Pan Shiji suddenly became furious and shouted to his men, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and take her back." The policemen answered and were about to go forward to take her back. However, Naylan Wuxia grabbed Qin Haodong's handcuffs and gently pulled them. The handcuffs made of pure steel broke into two pieces and fell to the ground. What the hell? Is she still a human? They who were about to take action were all frightened. They knew how strong the handcuffs were, but they were like tofu in Naylan Wuxia's hands. What was the use of going up against her? If they were not careful, their bones would be broken. Pan Shiji was also shocked. Originally, he was very dissatisfied with the new young female captain of the Dongqing district. He thought that she must have used some special connections. Now he knew that Naylan Wuxia was so powerful. But no matter what, he couldn't hand her over. He shouted, "Naylan Wuxia, do you know what you're doing? Is it against the rules to take her back? How are you? Are you all right?" Although she knew Qin Haodong's skills, Naylan Wuxia still asked with concern, ignoring Pan Shiji next to her. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "I'm fine. These small fish and shrimps can't hurt me." Naylan Wuxia looked back at Pan Shiji and said, "If it's against the rules, you came to our Dongqing district to catch her first. You can't blame me. Hurry up and hand her over, or I won't be polite." Pan Shiji said and pulled out the pistol at his waist. Chapter 542. Naylan Wuxia did not look afraid at all. She looked at the pistol in Pan Shiji's hand coldly and said in a cold voice, "You dare to pull out a gun at me?" Pan Shiji said excitedly, "Give him back to me. Don't force me." Naylan Wuxia said indifferently, "I bet you don't dare to shoot." Pan Shiji suddenly raised his pistol and shouted at Naylan Wuxia, "Give him back to me." Naylan Wuxia said with a murderous look, "What if I don't?" She had reached the 5th level of covert power. With full concentration, she could completely avoid shooting her vital parts. As long as Pan Shiji dared to shoot at her, she would immediately kill him. The policemen next to them were scared silly. The captains of the two criminal police teams in Dongqing District and Xiqing District had never pulled out their guns at each other before. Just when the scene was in a deadlock, a siren suddenly sounded. 4 or 5 police cars drove into the yard of the criminal police unit in a row. After the car stopped, Director Dong Biqing jumped out of the car, followed by Zhou Xinzhu, the eldest daughter of the Zhou family. Put the gun down, Pan Shiji. Are you crazy? How dare you pull out a gun at your own people? After getting out of the car, Dong Biqing immediately flew into a rage when he saw the scene in front of him. He waved his hand to the 2 policemen behind him and said, "Take his gun away." The 2 policemen stepped forward and took Pan Shiji's pistol. Seeing the director coming, Pan Shiji naturally could not insist anymore. After handing over the pistol, he said with an aggrieved face, "Director, you can't blame me for this. Nalan Wuxia has gone too far. She even came to my criminal police unit to steal people." While speaking, he glanced at Zhou Xinzhu, who was standing next to him. He naturally knew the eldest daughter of the Zhou family, but he didn't know why Zhou Xinzhu brought Dong Biqing here. Could it be that they were here for that pretty boy? He was acting according to Zheng Hongda's orders. Zheng Hongda only told him that Qin Haodong was a college student with good skills and had a deep relationship with Nalan Wuxia in Dongqing District. He didn't know much else. If he knew that Qin Haodong's daddy security company was above the 3 big families and had a deep relationship with Zhou Xinzhu, he would not have arrested him so calmly. B****, you can't pull out a gun on your own people. Dong Biqing said angrily, "You two tell me what the hell is going on?" Nalan Wuxia said, "He caught people in my jurisdiction and put handcuffs on them. I came to ask for them but they refused. I had to take them back by myself." Pan Shiji said, "This guy is a suspect. He just broke someone's leg in Shanghai Medical College. Moreover, he has a special relationship with Captain Nalan. Of course I can't give him to her. Otherwise she will probably let him go." Dong Biqing was entrusted by Zhou Xinzhu to save Qin Haodong today. He said with a cold face, "You said that he broke the law. Where's the evidence?" Pan Shiji suddenly had a bad feeling. From Dong Biqing's tone, it was obvious that he was on Qin Haodong's side. He said, "Director, the Japanese friend who was injured by him is being treated in the hospital. I'll go to him later to collect evidence." "You didn't even get the basic evidence and you put handcuffs on him. Is that appropriate?" Dong Biqing said, "This is not a big case. Let him go first and then hand over the case to the criminal police unit of Dongqing District. You can use a gun at will." "Yes." In the face of the director of the Public Security Bureau, Pan Shiji naturally couldn't resist and could only agree. At this moment, a voice came from the side, "Director Dong, you can't let him go. I have evidence here." Dong Biqing looked in the direction of the voice and saw Zheng Hongda and Sun Jin walking over side by side. The 2 of them had been watching from the car. When they saw Zhou Xinzhu bring Dong Biqing over, they knew that Pan Shiji couldn't stand it anymore, so they got out of the car. Seeing the 2 people appear, Zhou Xinzhu's expression changed slightly. Sun Jin's status in the Sun family was a little lower, but Zheng Hongda was the 3rd generation of the Zheng family and the grandson of the family master. Today's matter might not be easy to handle. Sure enough, when Dong Biqing saw the 2 people, his tone immediately eased a lot. He couldn't afford to offend Zhou Xinzhu, nor could he afford to offend the Sun family and the Zheng family. "Young Master Zheng, young Master Sun, you're here too?" Zheng Hongda said, "Director Dong, we are also students of the Shanghai Medical College. We happened to be at the scene when the crime happened. We saw Qin Haodong kick our Japanese friend's calf. As college students and good citizens, of course we have to stand up and testify." Sun Jin glanced at Qin Haodong, who was silent, and said proudly, "Yes, we can testify for this case, so we can't let him go." Zheng Hongda added, "Looking at Captain Nalan's performance just now, his relationship with the suspect is very unusual. In order to ensure the fairness of the case, I suggest that Director Dong hand it over to the Xiqing District Brigade." Dong Biqing was suddenly in a dilemma. He had never thought that one day he would be sandwiched between the 3 big families. How could he choose? Zhou Xinzhu took 2 steps forward and said, "Now we haven't even seen the victim. It's a bit inappropriate to arrest him based on your one-sided statement." Sun Jin said, "I knew you would say that. The victim is being treated in the hospital. He'll be here soon." Zhou Xinzhu sneered and said, "Young Master Sun, how do you know the victim's situation so clearly? Is there any connection between you?" Sun Jin said, "What connection do I have with the victim? Will it affect the case? Can't we be friends?" Zheng Hongda said to Dong Biqing, "Director Dong, since the victim will be here soon, please wait for a few minutes. Otherwise this case will not be easy to handle. In the face of the three big families who were competing, Dong Bicheng could not make a decision directly. He could only say, well, let's wait. We'll talk about it after the case is investigated. At the Shanghai Central Hospital, Mitsui Jiro hurriedly brought Mitsui Aina there. Before they entered the outpatient department, Mitsui Aina's cell phone rang. After taking a look at the phone number, Mitsui Aina quickly pressed the answer button. Although he was in pain, he still said respectfully, "Master, what can I do for you?" A cold voice came from the other side of the phone, "You are not allowed to go out at will during the summit. Have you forgotten?" Cold sweat suddenly broke out on Mitsui Aina's forehead. "Master, I just went to the Shanghai Medical College to see my brother." The person on the other side of the phone said, "I don't want to listen to your explanation. Get back here right now." Mitsui Aina looked at his broken leg and said awkwardly, "Master, someone just broke my leg at school. I'm now being treated in the hospital." "What? Someone dared to break your leg?" The person on the phone said, "Tell me your address." Mitsui Aina did not dare to disobey that person's order. He quickly sent his location. After hanging up the phone, Mitsui Jiro said excitedly, "Big brother, is the master coming?" Mitsui Aina nodded. Mitsui Jiro said again, "The master will definitely seek justice for you, big brother. I believe that guy will be severely punished." Mitsui Aina said, "That's true. The master is the most protective of our family members. He will definitely be furious when he sees me beaten like this. Maybe he will personally deal with that guy." Mitsui Jiro said, "Big brother, I heard that the master has reached the level of 3rd grade Saint Ninja. Is that true?" Mitsui Aina said proudly, "Of course. If the master hadn't reached the level of 3rd grade Saint Ninja, how could our Yagyu family have the glory we have today?" About 5 minutes later, 7 or 8 people appeared in front of the emergency room. The leader was a tall neon woman. She came to Mitsui Aina, looked at his broken leg and asked, "Tell me what happened?" "Master, I went to the Shanghai Medical College to see my brother. I saw someone belittling our neon karate, so I went on stage to compete with him. I didn't expect that guy to break my leg." Mitsui Aina said with an aggrieved expression, "Master, I've embarrassed you, but please seek justice for me. You must make that guy pay the price." The neon woman was calm at first. When she heard Qin Haodong's name, her expression immediately changed. She asked in a cold voice, "What's the name of the man who broke your leg?" "His name is Qin Haodong. He's a very arrogant guy." Mitsui Aina originally wanted to slander Qin Haodong more, but before he could finish speaking he felt a pain on his face. A series of big slaps had landed on his face. He was completely stunned and looked at the neon woman with a confused face. The neon woman was Yagyu Yukaim, the master of the Yagyu family. When she heard that her men had offended her master, she immediately said with a murderous look, "Go and win Mr. Qin's forgiveness now. Otherwise there will only be one result, and that is death." The Mitsui brothers almost peed their pants. They had never dreamed that this young man from Wuxia would have a relationship with their master, and it seemed to be very unusual. Mitsui Aina said with an embarrassed expression, "Master, Mr. Qin has been arrested by the Wuxia police." "What did you say?" Hearing that Qin Haodong had been arrested, Yagyu Yukaim's body suddenly burst out with a powerful momentum, which made the Mitsui brothers breathless. "Tell me what's going on. If you dare to hide anything, I will immediately destroy your family." The Mitsui family was not a direct descendant of the Yagyu family, but a subsidiary family of theirs. Seeing that Yagyu Yukaim was so angry, the Mitsui brothers were scared out of their wits. They no longer dared to hide anything and told her everything about the deal between Sun Jin and Mitsui Jiro. In the end, Mitsui Jiro said tremblingly, "Master, we really didn't know that Mr. Qin was your friend. Otherwise we wouldn't have done it." As the master of the Yagyu family, Yagyu Yukaim's mind was naturally not simple. She immediately understood that this was a trap set up by Sun Jin for Qin Haodong. "You two go to the Wuxia police station now and explain what happened to your leg. No matter if it was broken by a fall or a kick, no matter what, you can't say that it was Mr. Qin who broke it. If Mr. Qin is arrested and sent to prison, then you two will commit suicide to apologize." "Yes, master." The Mitsui brothers knew that they had caused a terrible disaster, so they quickly agreed. At this moment, Mitsui Jiro's phone rang. It was Sun Jin, who asked him to take Mitsui Aina to the crime squad in Shicheng district immediately to testify. Under Yagyu Yukaim's murderous eyes, Mitsui Aina did not care about treating his injury. He dragged a broken leg into the car and hurried to the crime squad in Shicheng district with Mitsui Jiro. Seeing them get out of the car, Sun Jin immediately shouted excitedly, "The injured is here." Director Dong, look, Mr. Mitsui's leg hasn't been treated yet, but he came to testify. It can be seen how angry he is about this case. Zheng Hongda then said, Director Dong, the victim is a friend of Neon. We must treat this case carefully. At this moment, Mitsui Aina jumped over with the help of Mitsui Jiro and shouted, my leg injury has nothing to do with others. I broke it myself. Chapter 543. Did you hear that? Mr. Mitsui has already come forward to testify that his leg was broken by himself. Speaking of this, Sun Jin suddenly came to his senses. He turned to Mitsui Aina and said, Mr. Mitsui, did you say something wrong? This leg was obviously broken by Qin Haodong. How can you say that you broke it by yourself? Mitsui Aina said indignantly, nonsense. I broke my leg by myself. Who said that it was broken? Mr. Qin is a good man. How could he break my leg? What the hell? What's going on? Sun Jin was confused. If it weren't for the broken leg, he would have thought that this Japanese guy had been beaten to the point that his brain was broken. The people around were also surprised, including Qin Haodong. They didn't know what was wrong with Mitsui Aina. Why did he speak up for him? Mitsui Jiro also said, Officers, my brother really broke his leg by himself. I saw it with my own eyes. It has nothing to do with Mr. Qin. You can't wrongly accuse a good man. Let him go quickly. Dong Bicheng breathed a sigh of relief. Since the victim did not come forward to testify, things would be easy. He said, since it's a misunderstanding, let Mr. Qin go. Wait a minute. Zheng Hongda stood up and said, I suspect that Mitsui was threatened at the scene, so he didn't dare to tell the truth. But it doesn't matter. I have evidence in my hands. As he spoke, he took out his mobile phone and clicked on a video. It happened to be the scene where Qin Haodong broke Mitsui Aine's leg with one kick. Director Dong, the evidence is very clear. Mr. Mitsui's leg was broken by Qin Haodong. There is no objection. Before Dong Bicheng could say anything, Mitsui Aina immediately shouted angrily, Who are you? How did my leg break? What does it have to do with you? I don't need you to say anything. Get out of here. If it weren't for his broken leg, he would have kicked this guy to death. If Qin Haodong was really arrested and put in prison, then he and Mitsui Jiro would have to commit suicide to apologize. After all, the master of the Yagyu Yukaim family was not a joke. Mitsui Jiro also realized this and roared angrily, What does it have to do with you whether my brother broke his own leg or not? Zheng Hongda was stunned by the scolding, but he quickly calmed down and said to Dong Bicheng, Director Dong, did you see that? The victim must have been threatened. Otherwise he would not be so emotional. This, from the bottom of his heart, Dong Bicheng wanted to help Qin Haodong, but the video in Zheng Hongda's hands was very clear. Even if Mitsui Aina wanted to deny it, he couldn't. He said to Mitsui Aina, Sir, you've seen the video. How did this leg break? Seeing that he couldn't deny it, Mitsui Aina could only say, Well, I admit that this leg was broken by Mr. Qin. But at that time we were competing in martial arts and injuries were inevitable. I can't blame anyone but myself for not being good enough. I officially announced to everyone that I won't hold Mr. Qin responsible. A sneer appeared at the corner of Sun Jin's mouth. Since Qin Haodong had admitted it, it would be easy to deal with it. He said to Dong Bicheng, Director Dong, an injury case is not a case that can be handled through appeal. Although the victim doesn't want to pursue it for some reason, the criminal facts are clear, and Qin Haodong should be brought to justice. This, Dong Bicheng looked at Zhou Xinzhu awkwardly. Although his relationship with the Zhou family had improved a little, he couldn't afford to offend the Sun family and the Zheng family. At that moment, Qin Haodong said, Since we're talking about the law, let's be more rigorous. I heard that injury cases must have an injury identification. Otherwise the case can't be decided. Am I right? Pan Shiji said, That's simple. We have a ready-made forensic doctor in the criminal police unit. We can immediately do an injury identification for Mr. Mitsui. Now that things had come to this, he could only stand on Zheng Hongda's side without hesitation, even if he offended Dong Bicheng. Qin Haodong said, Well then please do an injury identification for Mr. Mitsui. If I can do it, I will plead guilty and accept the law. If I can't, then I'm sorry, you can only let me go. No one understood what he meant. Mitsui Aine's leg was still in front of them, and it had formed a V shape. Even without a forensic doctor, they could guess what the result of the identification would be. However, today's case was really strange. First, the two captains of the criminal police unit confronted each other. Then, the victim came forward to prove that the suspect was innocent. Now, the suspect took the initiative to ask for an injury identification. What the hell was going on? Were they all crazy? Pan Shiji couldn't care less about this. He said to a young policeman next to him, "Go and call medical examiner Liu." The young policeman answered, turned around and ran into the criminal police unit. Qin Haodong smiled slightly and came to Mitsui Aina. "For the sake of you being aware of your mistakes and correcting them, I'll treat your injury. Okay, Mr. Qin. You can do whatever you want." With Yagyu Yukaim's instructions, Mitsui Aina did not dare to resist Qin Haodong's decision. Even if this Wuxia man wanted to torture him, he could only bear it. Qin Haodong reached out and grabbed his broken leg. He gently pulled and pushed. With a click, the two sections of the calf, which had been broken into a V shape, were connected together. Mitsui Aina gritted his teeth and was ready to bear the piercing pain. Unexpectedly, not only did the pain not intensify, but even the previous pain disappeared. What's going on? Is my leg cured just like that? Seeing his intact calf, he couldn't believe his eyes. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Okay, try taking 2 steps." Since the Sun family and the Zheng family who were hiding behind the scenes had jumped out, he was not in the mood to play anymore. He directly cured Mitsui Ayane's leg. Mitsui Ayane's face was full of horror and disbelief. He slowly put his right leg on the ground, gently used a little strength and tried to take a few steps forward. This feeling was exactly the same as before he was injured. There was no pain and there was nothing strange. My God, the medical skills of Wuxia are really amazing. Dr. Qin, thank you. Thank you for curing my leg. Mitsui Aina looked at Qin Haodong with admiration in his eyes. No wonder the family master valued him. He did have extraordinary skills. Qin Haodong said, "Don't use force for 3 days and don't use force for a week. After that, you'll be fine." The others were completely dumbfounded. What was going on? If they hadn't just seen Mitsui Ayane's leg injury with their own eyes, they would have suspected that the two of them were playing a double act. The calf, which had obviously become a V shape, was completely cured in the blink of an eye. Was this still medical skills? This was simply a miracle. At this moment, a medical examiner in a white coat came over with a young policeman. "Medical examiner Liu, that man's leg is broken. Captain Pan wants you to do an injury identification for him." When the young policeman said this, he suddenly felt as if his neck was being strangled. He could not go on because he saw Mitsui Aina walking back and forth on the ground. He did not look injured at all. Medical examiner Liu frowned and said, "Are you kidding me? Isn't this person fine? Why do we need to do an injury identification?" Then he looked back at Pan Shiji and said, "Captain Pan, why did you call me here?" Pan Shiji came to his senses, waved his hand weakly and said, "It's all right." At this time he began to curse in his heart. What the hell was going on? Such a serious injury was cured in the blink of an eye. Why did they need to do an injury identification? Are you crazy? Are you kidding me? Of course, medical examiner Liu did not dare to say it out loud. He cursed in his heart and then left without looking back. When Qin Haodong saw Dong Biqing, he said with a smile, "Director Dong, do you think I still need to bear legal responsibility now?" Dong Biqing quickly said, No. You are completely free now and can leave at any time." Since he could let Qin Haodong go, he certainly did not want to offend the Zhou family. "I'm really not in a hurry to leave. I still have a debt to pay." Qin Haodong turned his head, looked at the Mitsui brothers and said, "What the hell is going on? I need you to tell me clearly." Mitsui Jiro naturally did not dare to hide anything. He directly told them how Sun Jin had bribed them for 10 million yuan. He did not expect that after the warning, the Sun family would still make trouble for him. Qin Haodong looked at Sun Jin and said coldly, "Is it you who wants to deal with me? Or is it your Sun family's idea?" Sun Jin straightened his neck and said unyieldingly, "It's me. It has nothing to do with the Sun family. You are just a toy boy. What qualifications do you have to go against our Sun family? Although I let you escape today, I'll play you to death sooner or later." In his opinion, he was in the courtyard of the criminal police unit. No matter how powerful Qin Haodong was, he would not dare to do anything to him in front of the director of the Public Security Bureau. "Okay, then I'll play with you." Qin Haodong seemed to have read his mind. He took out his mobile phone with a smile and directly dialed Sun Xingtian's number. "Old Sun, you have 10 minutes to come to the criminal police unit in the Xiqing district. Otherwise, I will tear down your Sun family's manor." What do you mean? Sun Xingtian was basking in the sun at home when he suddenly received a call from Qin Haodong. Before he could figure out what was going on, Qin Haodong had hung up the phone. "Bastard. He grabbed the teacup next to him and smashed it on the ground. This Qin guy was too much. He wanted to tear down his own house. Was there any law? However, although he was angry, he still had to deal with the matter. He raised his hand and called the housekeeper. Prepare the car immediately. I don't care how you do it. Send me to the criminal police unit in the Xiqing district within 9 minutes. Since he had seen Qin Haodong's ruthlessness, he did not think that this young man was joking with him. Maybe he would really bring disaster to the Sun family. Soon, Sun Xingtian's stretched Lincoln sped forward on the streets of Shanghai like crazy, not caring about the red light at all. With a shrill braking sound, the Lincoln drove into the yard of the criminal police unit. Sun Xingtian looked at his watch. It had been exactly 10 minutes, so he breathed a sigh of relief. He got out of the car and saw Sun Jin next to him. He suddenly felt his heart sink and he had a very bad feeling. At this time, Sun Jin's heart was also cold. He no longer had the arrogance and calmness from before. He had never thought that Qin Haodong could transfer his grandfather here with just a phone call. Sun Xingtian ignored Sun Jin. He stepped in front of Qin Haodong and said, "What do you want from me?" Qin Haodong said to Mitsui Jiro, "You tell me?" Mitsui Jiro was now both afraid and respectful of Qin Haodong. He once again told him how Sun Jin had bribed them, as well as the situation where Qin Haodong was arrested and sent to the criminal police unit. Sun Xingtian's face became more and more gloomy. Generally speaking, the battles between the aristocratic families had their own scope and rules. No one would use official power to arrest people, because a master like Qin Haodong could destroy the Sun family at any time once he was enraged, and the police would not be able to find any evidence. Chapter 544. Because of this, he had officially issued the family master's order, forbidding anyone in the family from provoking Qin Haodong. But now his precious grandson thought himself clever. Not only did he violate the family master's order, but he also used official power to arrest Qin Haodong. This was definitely a terrible disaster. Qin Haodong looked at Sun Xingtian, whose face was livid, and said, "Old man Sun, do you understand? Shouldn't you give me an explanation?" "Bastard." Sun Xingtian raised his hand and slapped Sun Jin hard. Sun Jin staggered from the slap. He covered his swollen cheek and said, "Grandpa, I'm doing this for our Sun family." Bullsh *T, you're setting the Sun family up? Sun Xingtian shouted to the bodyguards behind him, "Come on, Sun Jin has violated the family rules. Break his legs now and drive him out of the Sun family. From today on, he has nothing to do with our Sun family." "Grandpa, you can't do this." "Grandpa, I'm your grandson." Sun Jin was scared silly. He didn't expect Sun Xingtian to punish him so severely. At this moment, the family rewards and the family master's throne no longer had anything to do with him. At this time, his intestines were green with regret. Why did he think he was clever and have to provoke this evil star? Sun Xingtian was not moved at all. He turned his head and shouted to the bodyguards, "What are you looking at? Do it." Dong Biqing's heart was full of shock. He had always thought that Qin Haodong relied on Zhou Xinju, but now it seemed that it was not so simple. Even the family master of the Sun family had been called over by him without any delay. In order to appease Qin Haodong's anger, Sun Xingtian did not hesitate to break his grandson's legs. What did this young man do? How could he have such great power? But now it was a little awkward. Although Sun Xingtian was enforcing the family rules of the Sun family, this was the territory of the criminal police unit after all. He wanted to break Sun Jin's legs in front of so many policemen. Many policemen looked at each other, not knowing whether they should stop him or not. However, they soon got the answer. When they saw Dong Biqing turn around and pretend that he didn't see or hear anything, they immediately knew what to do. They all turned their heads and didn't look at Sun Jin anymore. Crack, crack. After 2 crisp sounds, there was a heart-wrenching scream. Sun Jin's legs were completely broken, and then he was thrown out by the bodyguards. After dealing with Sun Jin, Sun Xingtian came to Qin Haodong, lowered his head and said, "Mr. Qin, I'm really sorry. This is a misunderstanding. Sun Jin acted on his own. It has nothing to do with our Sun family." Qin Haodong said lightly, "I'll let it go this time, but I don't want similar things to happen again. Otherwise, the Sun family will bear the consequences." "Don't worry, Mr. Qin. This kind of thing will never happen again." After Sun Xingtian finished speaking, he got into the car and left the crime squad compound with his men. At this time he was extremely aggrieved and his eyes were filled with hatred. The dignified Sun family's patriarch had been forced into such a state by a young man. "Brat, just you wait. I'll make you pay the price sooner or later." After the Sun family left, Qin Haodong turned to look at Dong Biqing and said, Director Dong, it's clear now that Captain Pan didn't cross the line by accident. He colluded with Sun Jin. What do you think we should do? Zhou Xinzhu said, Haodong, don't worry. Uncle Dong will definitely deal with it impartially. Pan Shiji's heart sank. These two people were echoing each other, and it was very likely that his career would be ruined. He couldn't help but turn his head to look at Zheng Hongda, hoping that his master could help him out a little. However, he was disappointed. Zheng Hongda seemed to be admiring the clouds in the sky. He didn't even look at him, nor did he have the slightest intention of helping him. In fact, Zheng Hongda couldn't be blamed. The situation was right in front of him. Even if he wanted to help, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Moreover, Pan Shiji was just a dog in his eyes. He was nothing at all. There was no need to pay too much for a dog. Dong Biqing looked at Pan Shiji and said sternly, as a policeman, you can't be strict with yourself. You colluded with others to frame a college student, violated the rules, crossed the line to enforce the law, and violated the rules by using guns. I announce that you are relieved of your position as captain and expelled from the police force. You will be dealt with further for your illegal behavior. It's over. Pan Shiji's eyes darkened and he collapsed to the ground. He knew that his life was completely over. Zheng Hongda shook his head. What happened today really disappointed him, but it didn't matter. He didn't lose too much. He stepped toward his car and was about to leave the criminal police unit. At this time he heard someone behind him call out, Stop, did I let you go? The person who spoke was naturally Qin Haodong. He wouldn't easily let go of the person who had set a trap for him, even if the other party was the young master of the Zheng family. Zheng Hongda turned around and smiled at him. What's the matter? Qin Haodong said, Young Master Zheng, isn't it a bit too easy for you to leave like this? He spread his hands and said, Qin Haodong, I admit that you have some means, but what can you do? This matter has nothing to do with me. I didn't break the law, I didn't violate the family rules, and I didn't violate the rules of the Public Security Bureau. I'm a legal good citizen. Why can't I leave? Indeed, this was where his confidence came from. Sun Jin had always been in front of this matter, and he didn't show anything. He just used Pan Shiji as a chess piece. However, as long as Pan Shiji wasn't crazy, he naturally wouldn't betray him. Otherwise, how could he survive in Shanghai in the future? Qin Haodong said, You didn't break the law now, but it doesn't mean that you won't break the law later. Zheng Hongda said, I'm a person with a brain. How could I do that kind of illegal thing? But before he finished speaking, a flash of confusion suddenly flashed in his eyes. Then he rushed over crazily, grabbed the fire hydrant, and smashed it hard at Dong Biqing's car. Clatter, clatter, clatter. Before anyone could react to what was going on, he had smashed Dong Biqing's car into pieces. Dong Biqing never dreamed that the young master of the Zheng family would smash his car. He hurriedly shouted to his men, Hurry up and catch him. Zheng Hongda threw the fire hydrant in his hand at the police officer who rushed over and then rushed out of the crime squad like a madman. As he ran, he took off his clothes. By the time he rushed out of the crime squad's gate, he was already naked. Moreover, the young master of the Zheng family's physical fitness was good enough. 7 or 8 policemen couldn't catch up with him. He ran all the way to the bustling downtown of Shanghai naked. Crazy, the young master of the Zheng family is crazy. This was what everyone was thinking, but they didn't understand why Zheng Hongda, who had just been talking with confidence, suddenly went crazy and smashed the car of the director of the Public Security Bureau. What was he going to do? Was he looking for excitement? Zhou Xinzhu seemed to have found something. She came to Qin Haodong and whispered, Did you do this? Qin Haodong spread out his hands and said, I'm just standing here. I didn't do anything. He turned his head and said to Dong Biqing, Director Dong, this guy smashed the police car in public and ran naked in the downtown area. Isn't that illegal? Dong Biqing didn't understand what was going on, but the facts were in front of him. He could only nod and say, It is indeed illegal. That's good. I hope you can handle it impartially. After that, he left the crime squad with Nalan Wuxia and Zhou Xinzhu. After going out, he said to the two of them, Thank you for your help today. Nalan Wuxia said, I have something to do. I'll go first. After that, she got in the car and quickly disappeared into the traffic. She and Qin Haodong naturally didn't need to say too much. Everything was understood without words. Zhou Xinzhu looked at Qin Haodong with a playful face and said, Even if I didn't come today, you would have the ability to solve this problem, right? Qin Haodong smiled and said, Anyway, you still came. I have to thank you. Zhou Xinzhu said, Since the first time we met, I have been improving my evaluation of you every time, but I still underestimated you every time. You are really an interesting guy. Don't be curious about a man easily, or you will easily fall in love with him. Zhou Xingzhu smiled and said, It's too late. I've already fallen in love with you. What should I do? That can't be helped. Who told me to be so charming? After joking for a while, Qin Haodong said, I still have something to do. I'll go first. I'll treat you to dinner another day. After that, he got in his car, took out his mobile phone and dialed Yagyu Yukaim's phone number. Are Mitsui Jiro and Mitsui Aina your people? With his intelligence, it was not difficult for him to guess that the change in the attitude of the two Japanese people had something to do with Yagyu Yukaim. Yes, master. They have offended you. Please punish them. Even if you kill them, it's fine. Forget it. Let bygones be bygones. Given that the Mitsui brothers behaved well later, Qin Haodong didn't intend to hold them accountable. What's going on? When did you come to Shanghai? Yagyu Yukaim said, This time Wuxia held a high-level business summit in Shanghai. I came to attend on behalf of the Yagyu family. I didn't report to master. Please punish me, master. I told you to call me boss. There's no need to always call me master. Besides, you are a free person, not my puppet. There's no need to tell me everything. Yagyu Yukaim was silent for a while, then said, Boss, can you come and see me? I have something to tell you. Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, Well, tell me your address. I'll go there now. Yagyu Yukaim didn't expect him to really agree. She said excitedly, Thank you, boss. I'll send you the address now. Qin Haodong hung up the phone and went to the Shanghai Convention and Exhibition Center building according to the address given by Yagyu Yukaim. It was a skyscraper about 50 floors high. The lower 10 floors were the exhibition center, which was used for holding all kinds of meetings. The upper 40 floors were 5-star hotels, which were generally used to entertain guests attending the exhibition. Qin Haodong went to a presidential suite on the 30th floor. As soon as he arrived at the door, Yagyu Yukaim, who was dressed in traditional Japanese clothes, opened the door and bowed to welcome him in. Boss, welcome. Yagyu Yukaim put a pair of slippers in front of Qin Haodong, helped him take off his shoes and put on the slippers. She was like a little wife waiting for her husband to return, without the slightest momentum of a family master. Qin Haodong was still somewhat not used to this kind of Japanese treatment. He said, When did you come? Yagyu Yukaim said, Our delegation arrived in Shanghai yesterday. I wanted to finish the things at hand and then go to see the boss. I didn't expect these two bastards to provoke you first. Qin Haodong sat on the sofa and asked, What summit did you just say? Yagyu Yukaim said, Boss, haven't you heard of such a big thing? This time, it's a financial summit held by the most famous Haodong group in Wuxia. The standards are very high. The most well-known business groups in the world are invited. Chapter 545. Qin Haodong touched his nose and said, I'm a doctor. I don't know much about these financial things. This group is quite interesting. Why does it have the same name as me? It should be a coincidence. Yagyu Yukaim said, The Haodong group is very famous in the financial world. It belongs to one of the top consortiums in Wuxia. However, its influence is much greater than that of ordinary consortiums because it is backed by the Chu family, one of the 7 major families in the capital. Because of the strong influence of the Haodong group, this financial summit is of high standards. Groups with less than 10 billion assets are not allowed to participate at all. And it's not limited to Wuxia. There are also many international consortiums such as the Yagyu family of Neon, the Kim family of Koryo Maldini Jr. of M Country. She listed many financial consortiums, but Qin Haodong was not familiar with them except for Maldini Jr. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. Why did you ask me to come here? He really wasn't very interested in financial matters. We'll talk about it later. Yagyu Yukaim said with a blush, Master, you've been working hard all day. Would you like to take a bath first? It was hot today. After a busy day, Qin Haodong really felt sticky. He said, That's a good idea. I'll take a bath. Yagyu Yukaim said, Master, let Yukaim serve you? Unconsciously, she changed the way she addressed him. Forget it. I'll do it myself. Qin Haodong took the men's pajamas from Yagyu Yukaim and turned into the bathroom. He took off his clothes and stood under the shower head to have a good shower. Just as he was enjoying the shower, the bathroom door was suddenly opened from the outside. Qin Haodong looked back and suddenly opened his mouth in surprise. He saw Yagyu Yukaim standing in front of the door, but her kimono was gone. Her shoulder-length hair hung down like a waterfall, faintly covering the high curve of her chest. She had a beautiful face, jade-like skin, perfect curves, and the unique style of Neon women. It had to be said that Yagyu Yukaim was very attractive to any man. What are you doing? Although he had slept with Yagyu Yukaim, and it was a particularly intense one, Qin Haodong was still not used to seeing her like this. He quickly reached out to cover his embarrassment. Yagyu Yukaim gently bit her lips and said gently, "Master, Yukaim wants to take a bath with you." "No need, I'll do it myself." Yagyu Yukaim did not leave. She said with tears, "Master, do you dislike Yukaim?" Qin Haodong quickly said, "Of course not. Why would I dislike you? Since you don't mind, I'll let Shueji serve you." Yagyu Yukaim resisted the shyness in her heart, stepped into the bathroom and hugged Qin Haodong's solid body. Since leaving Jiangnan City, Qin Haodong had not tasted meat for a long time. At this time he was like ignited dry firewood, and a flame rose from his lower abdomen. "Master, what I want to tell you today is that Xue Jie wants a child." Qin Haodong was speechless. He had not expected Yagyu Yukaim to make such a request. Yagyu Yukaim said faintly, "Master, as your servant, I will never look for another man in this life. I don't dare to have you, but I hope you can leave me a child and let me be a complete woman." Qin Haodong sighed. Because of the master-servant contract, Yagyu Yukaim was destined not to fall in love with anyone else in this life. From this point of view he was also responsible. Since he was responsible he would bear it. He took a bath towel and dried their bodies. Then he picked up Yagyu Yukaim and walked to the big bed in the bedroom. This was the third time the two of them had slept together, but the first 2 times had been mixed with other factors. This time was the purest. "Master, let Yukaim serve you." Yagyu Yukaim completely opened her heart. Under the fierce battle between the two of them, the big bed seemed to tremble a little. Happy times were always short. When Qin Haodong left the hotel, the night had fallen. All kinds of lights lit up the night scene of the Shanghai city. He walked out of the hotel lobby. Just as he came under the porch, he saw that it was raining cats and dogs outside. He didn't bring his rain gear and his car was parked in the parking lot outside. Just as he was hesitating about how to leave, there was a shrill horn next to him, and a black Rolls-Royce with a capital license plate drove up. "Boy in front, are you a courier or a cleaner? Get out of the way. A good dog doesn't stand in the way. Don't you understand this?" A bald head stretched out of the driver's seat and roared at Qin Haodong. From his words, it could be seen that because of his ordinary clothes, he didn't regard Qin Haodong as a guest at all, but as a worker who was taking shelter from the rain. Qin Haodong glanced at the driver and looked at the porch of the hotel. The road there was wide enough. As long as he turned the steering wheel slightly, he could go around from the side. However, the driver didn't choose to do so. He probably wanted to show off the superiority of driving a luxury car. However, generally speaking, people who drove luxury cars were workers. Judging from this guy's clothes, he was definitely a driver. "What are you looking at? Didn't you hear me? Get out of the way and get out of the way." The guy roared crazily again. Qin Haodong said, "You don't have to speak so loudly. My ears are good, but there may be something wrong with your eyes. Can't you see such a wide road? How the hell do you talk to me? I have to make way for you today. If my car is damaged because of you, I can't afford it even if I sell you." The driver shouted with a sense of superiority again. Qin Haodong didn't want to talk to this guy, but he also didn't want to make way unnecessarily. He said lightly, "Whatever you do, I can't leave until the rain stops." "Boy, are you looking for trouble? Get out of the way, I'm waiting to pick someone up." "The car is not yours. It's just a driver. Driving the owner's car, is it really good to show off like this?" Qin Haodong said, "If you're in a hurry, go around. It's not that there is no road." Try King saying that again. The driver was hurt by Qin Haodong's words. He did drive a luxury car, but it had nothing to do with him at all. Qin Haodong didn't bother to pay attention to this kind of person, so he turned his head directly to the side. "Boy, believe it or not, I'll kill you." Seeing that Qin Haodong ignored him, the guy was completely angry. Seeing that the guy was getting more and more outrageous, Qin Haodong said in a cold voice, "Try it if you can." The driver was furious. He slammed on the accelerator and rushed toward Qin Haodong. In his opinion, the young man would definitely dodge. As long as he took a step forward, the car would pass and he would regain his lost face. But what he didn't expect was that Qin Haodong just stood there motionless, which was beyond his expectation. Seeing that he was about to hit Qin Haodong, he hurriedly stepped on the brake, but in a panic he stepped on the wrong brake and accelerator and stepped on the accelerator. The Rolls-Royce made a dull roar and slammed into Qin Haodong. Seeing this scene, the people around exclaimed, thinking that the young man must be finished. The 2 security guards next to him wanted to stop him, But it was too late. Qin Haodong suddenly became angry. No matter whether the driver did it intentionally or not, if it were someone else he would definitely die under the wheels today. He suddenly raised his right leg and kicked at the Rolls-Royce. Is this young man crazy? He even kicked a car. How can a man be compared to a car? He's scared, really scared. What a pity, this young man. This driver is too much. Is driving a good car that great? There was a way to go, but he insisted on hitting others. Now he's in trouble? Just when people were angry and regretful, an amazing scene appeared. After Qin Haodong's right foot kicked the front of the Rolls-Royce, he did not move at all, but the roaring Rolls-Royce suddenly retreated as if it had been hit by a cannonball. The strength of this kick was too great. Not only did it collapse the front cover of the Rolls-Royce, but it also destroyed the engine. The Rolls-Royce immediately lay there motionless like a killed bull, and there was no sound. Oh my God, what did I see? Is it Superman? What's going on? What's going on? Am I dreaming? How can a man be compared to a car? This must be a movie company shooting a movie. Let me see, where is the camera? Everyone was stunned by the scene in front of them. No one believed that this seemingly weak young man could destroy a car with a kick. The driver in the Rolls-Royce was completely stunned. It took him a long time to recover. When he opened the door and saw the Rolls-Royce's miserable state, he was so scared that he fell to the ground. He really didn't know what kind of monster this young man was. He was finished. His car had been destroyed like this. How could he compensate the boss? At this moment, the door of the hotel lobby opened, and a woman came out surrounded by a group of people. The woman was 27 or 28 years old. She had long hair and a slim figure. She was wearing a fiery red dress and a pair of high heels that were more than 10 centimeters high, which made her figure look more and more straight. She was somewhat similar to Zhou Xinzhu in both appearance and temperament, but her aura was much stronger than Zhou Xinzhu's. She had the temperament of a domineering female president. When her eyes met Qin Haodong's, both of them were suddenly stunned. The reason why Qin Haodong was surprised was that this woman was a master. She had the highest cultivation among all the warriors he had ever seen. She had reached the 6th level of the Supreme Power Realm. When the woman saw Qin Haodong, for some reason she was also absent-minded. She murmured, so similar, so similar. Bossy, are you out? Look at this guy. He destroyed our car. The driver got up from the ground and came to the woman in embarrassment. It turned out that this was the person he had been picking up, his boss. After he finished speaking, he waited for the woman's anger. In his opinion, the woman would definitely be furious when the car was destroyed like this. Unexpectedly, the woman didn't even look at him. Instead, she went straight to Qin Haodong and asked excitedly, "What's your name?" Qin Haodong. Thinking that the woman wanted to hold him accountable, he didn't hide it and directly told her his name. Qin Haodong. After hearing the name, the woman's expression suddenly changed and she even trembled slightly. Seeing her reaction, Qin Haodong asked in surprise, "Do you know me?" At the same time, he tried his best to recall in his mind to make sure that he had never seen this woman before. No, I don't know you. I just think your name is very special." The woman came to her senses, glanced at the Rolls-Royce next to her and asked, "Did you kick this?" Chapter 546. I did, but it was your driver who hit me first. While speaking, Qin Haodong became nervous. After all, he was facing a master of the 6th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Unexpectedly, the woman did not show any sign of anger. Instead, she nodded with a smile and praised him, "You're good. Have you practiced Kung Fu?" Qin Haodong said, "A little." The woman said, "Okay, you can go now." As soon as she said that, everyone was stunned. The loss of this car was at least 1,000,000 yuan, but this woman did not seem to care about it at all. Qin Haodong was also somewhat surprised, but he had no intention of paying for it. He said, "Well, goodbye." The driver next to him quickly shouted, "Boss, he damaged our car." The woman turned around and the smile on her face disappeared in an instant. She said in a cold voice, "Shut up." In the face of the woman's strong power, the driver was speechless for an instant. The woman asked, "Tell me what's going on. Why did you hit someone with your car?" The woman's aura was so strong that the driver was just an ordinary person. He stammered for a long time and could not even say a complete sentence. The woman turned to look at the security guard in charge of the door and asked, "Did you see it just now? What happened?" "Miss, I saw it." The security guard recounted everything that had just happened. After hearing this, the woman said to the driver, "You're a dog who acts on his power. From now on you're fired. Get out of here." "No, boss, I won't dare to do it next time. Please give me another chance." Give you another chance? Because you caused such a big damage to my car. You have to pay for it. Go back and wait for the court summons. The driver's face suddenly turned pale and he fell to the ground. How could he afford such a big loss? However, he could not blame anyone else. He had just acted tough because of his power. If it had not been for Qin Haodong, he would have been arrested and sent to prison. After dealing with the driver, the woman turned around and said to her men, "Today's activity is cancelled. You can go back to your own business." She then looked at the security guard next to her. "Get the person in charge here. Send a copy of the surveillance video of what just happened to my room." With that, she turned around and walked back to the hotel. "Who is this person? Looks so powerful. You don't even know this? This is Miss Yi Qing, the CEO of the Haodong Group. She controls hundreds of billions of assets and tens of thousands of employees. Of course she has a powerful aura. Oh my god, so she's Yi Qing. She's so pretty, if only she could provide for me. Dream on. I'm so handsome. Even if he has a sugar daddy, it should be me." It turned out that this woman was Yi Qing of the Haodong Group. Everyone thought that she cancelled the operation because her car was broken and she was in a bad mood, but no one expected that after returning to the room, she immediately jumped up excitedly, as if she had encountered a great joy. After calming down, she called the bodyguard captain in and said, "Go and check the young man named Qin Haodong for me. Dig out all his information. The more detailed, the better. Remember, don't disturb him." "Got it, Mississippi," the bodyguard captain agreed and left the room. He had followed Yi Qing for many years and knew her temper very well. No wonder this little witch, who never suffered losses, was so easy to talk to today. It turned out that she wanted to settle accounts with that person later. Yi Qing did not know what the bodyguard captain was thinking. At this time, the security department of the hotel sent a copy of the video over. She closed the door and began to watch the video. In the end, she stopped the video on Qin Haodong's handsome face and murmured, "Similar, so similar. I didn't expect this guy to be so good at martial arts. I must tell my sister about this and make her happy. Otherwise she will be depressed all day and grow old quickly." Thinking of this, she opened the hotel safe, took out a separate mobile phone, and dialed a series of phone numbers. In a luxurious room in the capital, Chu Xianyue, who was graceful, leaned against the head of the bed and stared blankly at the two photos in front of her. In these two photos, the one on the left was still a baby in swaddling clothes. The child looked chubby and very cute. The one on the right was a handsome man in his 20s. If one took a closer look, they would find that he looked very similar to Qin Haodong. As she watched, her eyes began to mist up, and large drops of tears rolled down her cheeks. At that moment, a red phone beside her rang. Chu Xianyue wiped her tears, took a deep breath, adjusted her mood, and said in a relaxed tone, "You little girl, I told you not to use this confidential phone unless necessary. Why did you call me as soon as you arrived in Shanghai?" "Of course I used this phone for something important." Yi Qing giggled and said like a child, "Chu Xianyue, are you lonely now that I'm gone? What are you doing at home? Do you miss me? Actually, even if you don't tell me, I know. You must be staring at the two men in a daze, right?" Hearing the familiar voice, a smile appeared on Chu Xianyue's face. For 20 years she had relied on Yi Qing to survive. "You little girl, you directly called my name again. You really have no manners at all." Yi Qing said with a smile, "Can you blame me? I was a child who lacked maternal love back then. I originally wanted to call you mother, but in order to show that you were young, you forced me to call you sister. Since we are of the same generation, why be so polite?" "You're right." Chu Xianyue said, "You called me on the encrypted phone. Is this what you want?" Yi Qing said, "Of course it's important. I sent a photo to your mailbox. Take a look." "What photo? Why are you being so mysterious?" Chu Xianyue said as she took the laptop. "It's a handsome guy, a super handsome guy. You'll definitely like him." "What's wrong, little girl? Usually when I ask you to find a boyfriend, your head is shaking like a rattled drum. Why do you have a crush on someone as soon as you arrive in Shanghai? Whose poor child is this? Why did you, little witch, take a fancy to him?" Yi Qing giggled and said, "Do you agree with me pursuing him?" "Of course. At your age, you should have found someone to marry long ago so that you don't have to bother me at home every day. Chu Xianyue, do you have a conscience?" "I don't get married because I want to stay at home with you." Yi Qing said, "Remember, you agreed to let me pursue this handsome guy. Don't go back on your word." "What? Is the person you like much younger than you? Do you want to be an old cow who eats young grass?" "What do you mean by old cow?" "He's just 28 years old and is about to bloom." As the two of them talked about this, Chu Xianyue had already turned on the computer. When she saw the photo sent by Yi Qing, she immediately said with dissatisfaction, "You little girl, did you play such a joke on me in the middle of the night? Why did you send me a photo of your brother-in-law? Chu Shenyue, even you think he looks like him?" Yi Qing said excitedly, "I was shocked when I first saw him. He looks so much like my brother-in-law." Chu Shenyue said in surprise, "Isn't this a photo of your brother-in-law?" "Of course not. Look at the background. This is the porch of a hotel. When did brother-in-law come to Shanghai?" Chu Shenyue took a closer look at the handsome face in the photo. It was indeed a little different from the person in her heart, but she still asked, "Are you sure you didn't edit this photo?" Yi Qing said, "I just cut this from the video recording. I didn't edit it at all." Hearing her words, Chu Shenyue suddenly became excited and her body couldn't stop trembling. "Xiaoqing, how old is this child? What's his name?" "Sister, don't be too excited. His name is Qin Haodong. As for how old he is, I don't know yet. I've already sent someone to check." "Qin Haodong. His name is Qin Haodong. Is he really my little Haodong?" Chu Shenyue murmured and looked at the face on the screen with tears streaming down her face. Yi Qing said, "Sister, don't cry. There are many people who look like him. There are tens of thousands of people with this name in Wuxia. Whether he is your lost son or not, we have to do a DNA test." Chu Shenyue came to her senses and quickly said, "You're right. I'll go to Shanghai now and do a DNA test immediately." Then she stood up and was eager to change her clothes. On the other side of the phone, Yi Qing hurriedly said, "Sister, don't worry. You have to calm down." Chu Shenyue said, "Xiaoqing, I've been looking for your brother for more than 20 years. Now I finally have news about him. How can I calm down?" She was originally a very calm and generous woman, but after knowing the news about her son, this calmness immediately disappeared. In front of her son, no matter how powerful a woman was, she was just an ordinary mother. Yi Qing cried, "Chu Shenyue, do you want to kill your son? Have you forgotten how he was lost? If those people know that he is still alive, they will definitely kill him." Hearing this, Chu Shenyue, who was originally excited, immediately sat down on the bed. Soon, she said with a gloomy expression, "If anyone dares to touch my son again, I will definitely kill him." Yi Qing said, "Sister, calm down. With our strength, we can't fight against the Chu family now." Chu Shenyue choked and said, "Xiaoqing, I just want to see my son. Is this too much to ask?" Yi Qing comforted her, "Sister, don't be so excited. As long as Haodong is still alive, you and your son will meet sooner or later. What we have to do now is to keep it a secret. Don't let those people know before we are strong enough." "I know, Xiaoqing. I've already hurt Haodong once. I can't hurt him again this time." Only then did Chu Shenyue understand why Yi Qing had made this encrypted call. She said, "My heart is in a mess now. Tell me, what should I do?" Yi Qing said, "The most important thing for you now is to keep calm and don't let those people see anything unusual. Also, hurry up and do a DNA test to determine if Qin Haodong is your lost son." Chu Shenyue said, "I'll listen to you. I'll do whatever you want me to do." Yi Qing said, "Now we can't let the Chu family know the news, nor can we alarm Qin Haodong. So this DNA test must be kept secret. How about this? Ask someone to send me some underwear tomorrow morning. Put your hair inside your clothes and send it to Shanghai. I'll find a way to get Qin Haodong's hair and secretly do a DNA test. Then we'll know the result." Chu Shenyue said, "Xiaoqing, you're so thoughtful. I hope you can find my son this time." Chapter 547. Yi Qing said, "Sister, leave the appraisal to me, but you have to tell me about you and brother-in-law. You haven't told me about it for so many years." She knew that Chu Shenyue had two men she loved deeply. One was her son, and the other was her husband, Qin Zongheng. Other than that, she didn't know much. "I didn't tell you before because I didn't want to look back on the past. Now that I have news about Haodong, I'll tell you." Chu Shenyue showed a sad expression. She recalled the past and slowly told her story. 22 years ago, I was a famous talented woman in the capital. I was also known as the most beautiful woman in the capital. Haodong's father, Qin Zongheng, was a rare martial arts genius of the Qin family. The Qin family had high hopes for him. We met by chance. From the first time I saw him, I decided that he was the man of my life. It turned out that love at first sight was not a legend but a real thing. We were a perfect match. Unfortunately, among the 7 great families in the capital, the Qin family and the Chu family had always been at odds. They had been competitors for hundreds of years, so our love didn't get the blessings of our families. On the contrary, it attracted strong opposition. What happened after that? What happened to you? Yi Qing couldn't help asking. Although she was a well-known little witch in the capital, all women had an instinctive longing and yearning for love. Chu Xinyue said, "Brother Zongheng and I really loved each other. The opposition from our families couldn't stop us from being together. One day I found out that I was pregnant. At that time I was ecstatic. I thought that with a child my family would definitely agree to our marriage. I didn't expect that when I heard the news, I didn't get the blessings of my family. On the contrary, it attracted strong opposition from both parents. The Qin family forced Brother Zongheng to break up with me, and at the same time, arranged another marriage for him. On the Chu family's side, my father forced me to abort the child. Later I threatened to kill myself and barely saved Haodong. If this went on, even if we couldn't get married, we could still keep the child. However, at that time, someone suddenly came to the Chu family. It was Taoist Yuan who claimed to be proficient in the yin-yang input method. He claimed to be the descendant of Yuan Tiangang of the Tang dynasty. He was proficient in the 8 trigrams, and all kinds of yin and yang spells. He looked at the ancestral grave of our Chu family and claimed that it was the land of fairies. Yi Qing asked, "Could it be that the land of the fairies has something to do with children?" Chu Xinyue said, "According to Taoist Yuan, the land of the fairies' skin is a kind of excellent geomancy, which can protect the prosperity of future generations. However, there is one thing. All women who marry outside cannot give birth to boys. Otherwise, they will take away the fortune of the family and nourish the husband's side." Yi Qing said, "Isn't this nonsense? Did the old man believe it too?" Chu Xinyue said, "There are many people who believe in this evil theory. I heard that the family of Li Hongzhang, a famous minister of the previous dynasty, was buried in the land of fairies' skin, so there were no women in the Li family in his generation. It's not that they didn't give birth, but they were directly killed when they were born. They were afraid that the Li family's blessing would be taken away. Although my father wasn't as cruel as the Li family, after knowing that Haodong was a boy, he wouldn't allow him to stay in this world. He was afraid that he would bring the fortune of the Chu family to the Qin family." Yi Qing asked, "What happened after that?" Chu Xinyue said, "Under the instigation of Taoist Yuan, my father didn't show anything at first. Just when I was a little relaxed, Haodong was suddenly lost one day. Although I still don't know who stole the child, I know that this matter definitely has something to do with the Chu family. It must have been arranged by my father." The day Haodong disappeared was the day that Brother Zongheng got married to that woman. After receiving the news of the child's disappearance, Brother Zongheng ran away from home angrily. Since then there has been no news of him. I don't know where he went. After losing my son, I frantically looked for him everywhere, but there was no news at all. I knew that all this was done by the Chu family. Later, I broke away from the Chu family and founded the Haodong group today. There has been no news of Haodong for so many years. I thought he was dead. I never expected that he would suddenly appear in my world today." Speaking of this, she became excited again. "Xiaoqing, you must help me find my son." "Don't worry, sister. When I was wandering on the streets, you adopted me. In my heart, you are my mother and Haodong is my younger brother. I will definitely do my best." Yi Qing said, "But there is one thing I don't understand. With the strength of the Haodong group, I'm afraid it's not difficult to find someone in Wuxia. Why don't you search for news of Haodong? At least you should check all the people named Qin Haodong." Chu Xinyue sighed and said, "Of course I understand what you mean, but I don't know whether the child is dead or alive. I don't know if he was killed by someone sent by my father. The hope of finding him is very vague. Even if the child is still alive, who knows what his name is? In addition, although the Haodong group is very strong, it is still not as strong as the Chu family. If I make a big effort to find the child in Wuxia, even if I find him, I will harm him. I will definitely not be able to escape from the Chu family. So in the past 20 years, I can only cry silently and miss my son, but I can't do anything." Yi Qing said, "Sister, don't be too sad. The Qin Haodong I met looks so much like brother-in-law. I guess it's very likely that he's the little Haodong you lost." Chu Xinyue choked and said, "I hope so. Do you know why I didn't let you call me mother when I adopted you? It's not to show that I'm young, but I can't hear this word. Every time a child calls me mother, I can't help but think of my own son." Yi Qing said, "It doesn't matter what you call me. In fact, you are my mother in my heart. No matter what, I will help you find little Haodong. Tomorrow morning send someone to bring me the things. Remember, you must pretend to be calm and normal. Don't give yourself away." Chu Xinyue said, "I know. I've endured for so many years. A few more days won't matter." Yi Qing said, Sister, you must stay away from that guy surnamed Han. I think that guy has bad intentions towards us. What he wants is not you but the property of our Haodong group. Chu Xinyue said, Han Zixing is my playmate since childhood. We are just friends. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. While they were talking, in another luxury villa in the capital, a middle-aged man in his 40s was answering the phone. Is there any news from Shanghai? The person on the other side of the phone said, Boss, I haven't found anything wrong at the moment. That little witch is too vigilant and has a high cultivation. Our people don't dare to get too close. Be careful, but you must keep an eye on her. Report to me immediately if anything unusual happens. Got it, boss? After hanging up the phone, the middle-aged man murmured, Chu Xinyue Haodong Group, none of you can run away. Sooner or later you will all be mine. Qin Haodong returned home. As soon as he entered the door, the little fellow rushed over and said, Papa, what did you do? Why did you come back so late? Papa went out to do something. He kissed the little fellow on the cheek and walked into the living room with her in his arms. The little fellow said, Papa, why do you smell so good? Are you with an auntie? Qin Haodong staggered and almost fell to the ground. He quickly said, Tang Tang, have you had dinner? What delicious food did Mama cook for you? Li Meiyu looked at him and said with an unkind expression, Don't change the subject. You haven't answered my question yet. Where did you go after coming out of the crime squad? Did you go out to pick up girls again? The other girls also looked at him playfully. Chi Waner said, What did he do? Hurry up and tell the truth or you will be tortured. Jia Shirhan said, Don't talk about him like that. He must have gone to do something. Nailan Wushuang said, Shirhan, you are too addicted to this guy. You were deceived by him. Lin Momo took the little fellow from Qin Haodong's arms and looked at him playfully. She said, Tell me, where did he go? Qin Haodong touched his nose and said with a little embarrassment, I went to the exhibition center to find Yagyu Yukaim. Chi Waner said, I don't know what kind of luck you have with women. Why can't you leave them? Li Meiyu said angrily, Well, Qin Haodong, you even hooked up with a neon woman? It's not what you think. Qin Haodong quickly explained, Fortunately Yagyu Yukaim helped with today's case. Otherwise it would not have been so easy to solve. As he spoke, he briefly described the situation in the crime squad. He emphasized that it was Yagyu Yukaim who asked the Mitsui brothers to change their statements. Of course he could not mention that the two of them had sex in the hotel. You see, she helped me so much. I have to go there. Thank you. Among the crowd, Lin Momo knew the relationship between him and Yagyu Yukaim very well. However, she just smiled and did not say anything. After listening to him, Li Meiyu's expression eased a lot. Qin Haodong quickly changed the topic and said, I heard from Yagyu Yukaim that the Yagyu family came to Shanghai to participate in the financial summit held by the Haodong Group. Have you heard of the Haodong Group? It is said to be very famous. His method was very useful. Li Meiyu said, Of course I've heard of the Haodong Group. It cooperates with our family, with many companies in Hong Kong. She originally wanted to say that they had a lot of cooperation with the Li family, but she thought that she was hiding her identity, so she swallowed her words halfway. Nailan Wushuang said, I've heard of the Haodong Group before, but now I notice that it's the same name as you. If I don't know, I would think it's a business under your name. Qin Haodong said, How is that possible? There are many people named Haodong in Wuxia. Zhang Haodong, Li Haodong, Wang Haodong, there are tens of thousands of them. Lin Momo said, I've known about the Haodong Group for a long time. For me it's an inspirational story of two women. What do you mean? Jia Shirhan asked curiously. She knew nothing about this world. She didn't know as much as Qin Haodong. Naturally, she had never heard of the Haodong Group. Lin Momo said, The founder of the Haodong Group is called Chu Xinyue. She was originally the eldest daughter of the Chu family, but she did not inherit the family business. She founded the Haodong Group herself. Later, she adopted a little girl who is now the CEO of the Haodong Group, Yi Qing. Yi Qing's ability is also very outstanding. She cooperated with Chu Xinyue to build the Haodong Group. Now, it is definitely one of the largest financial groups in Wuxia. Many people think that Chu Xinyue has achieved what she has today because of the Chu family, but as far as I know, this statement is not reliable at all. I don't know why, but Chu Xinyue has a very bad relationship with the Chu family. After leaving the Chu family, she rarely contacted them. The Haodong Group was built by her. It has nothing to do with the Chu family. Chapter 548. Chi Wainer said, The Haodong Group is also famous in the capital. I've heard of it before. Especially the CEO Yi Qing. This woman is both beautiful and capable, but she's a little witch. She has taught all the playboys of the big families in the capital a lesson. Many playboys tremble when they hear her name. Hearing this, Qin Haodong suddenly remembered the woman he had met in front of the exhibition center. She was beautiful, arrogant, and a powerful 6th-level Supreme Power Master. Now it was very likely that she was the little witch Yi Qing that Qi Weiner had mentioned. At this time Jia Shirhan said, "So powerful. They are really two amazing women. I really want to meet them if I have the chance." Lin Momo said, "It's too difficult. Let alone Chu Xianyue, it's even more difficult for us to meet Yi Qing." For example, the financial summit in Shanghai was held by the Haodong Group, but the threshold is very high. If you want to participate, you must have at least 10 billion yuan in assets. Otherwise, you are not even qualified to enter the door. Lin's jewelry has just arrived in the capital and has not yet formed a scale of industry. I have tried to find some connections in the past few days, but there is no way to get an invitation at all. Speaking of this, she had a lonely look on her face. She imagined that her Lin's group was doing well in Jiangnan City and was very important, but she couldn't even get an invitation letter in Shanghai, which really made her feel very frustrated. Qin Haodong asked, "Is this financial summit very important to us?" Lin Momo said, "Of course, our Lin's Jewelry and Tangmen Pharmaceutical Company have just arrived in Shanghai. Although we have a firm foothold thanks to the Daddy Security Company, we have no connections in the upper class. The participants of this financial summit are all big companies and consortiums. If we can build a good relationship with them, it will definitely be good for the future development of Lin's Jewelry and Tangmen Pharmaceutical Company. Especially Lin's Jewelry, these rich people are the big customers we need to fight for in the future. If we can't win the approval of these people, it will be impossible to defeat Shui's Jewelry." Qin Haodong said, "Why didn't you ask Ma Wenjue to think of a way?" Lin Momo shook her head and said, "I've already asked and Wenjue can't do anything about it. This financial summit is held by the Haodong Group. All the invitations are issued by Yi Qing alone. The security is extremely strict. Those who don't meet the conditions can't enter." "I see." Qin Haodong thought for a moment, took out his mobile phone and dialed Zhou Xinju's number. He went straight to the point and said, "Can you help us get an invitation to this financial summit?" Hearing this, Zhou Xinju smiled bitterly and said, "I really can't do that. Our Zhou family only got one invitation." Qin Haodong said, "With the strength of the Zhou family, is there no other way?" "No." Zhou Xinju said simply, "The organizer of this financial summit is the Haodong Group in the capital. There are also many large consortiums with an international industry scale of 100 billion yuan attending the summit. For example, the Yagyu family in Neon, the Kim family in Koryo and Maldini Jr. in M country. Compared with them, our Zhou family is just an ordinary member with no privileges at all." "Alright then." Qin Haodong had no choice but to hang up the phone. "Is there no other way?" Lin Momo asked. Qin Haodong shook his head. Just then Saber came in and said, "Boss, there's a woman outside looking for you." Li Meiyu immediately said with dissatisfaction, "It's so late and there's still a woman looking for you. How many women have you provoked outside?" Qin Haodong spread out his hands and said, "Don't randomly accuse me. I don't even know who it is. Just let her go." Li Meiyu said, "No, if you don't let her in, it means that you have a guilty conscience. What's there to feel guilty about?" Qin Haodong said to Saber, "Let her in." He was also very surprised. Who would come to his house so late at night? Yi Qing stood in front of Qin Haodong's house and looked at the beautiful villa. She was quite emotional. She had just gotten the first-hand information about Qin Haodong. He was a child picked up by an old Chinese medicine practitioner in Jiangnan City. From the date of birth, it was further consistent with the son that Chu Xianyue had lost. At the same time, Qin Haodong's achievements made her even more amazed. At the age of 20, he had become a famous medical sage in Jiangnan City. At the same time, he had opened a security company, a pharmaceutical company, and a large number of shares in Lin's group. After coming to Shanghai, he had defeated the Sun family in less than a month and quickly became the existence above the three big families. This was definitely not something that an ordinary person could do. The reason why she came here so late was that, on the one hand, she wanted to verify whether Qin Haodong was Chu Xuanyue's lost son. On the other hand, she wanted to see what was so magical about this young man. At this time, Saber came back and said to her politely, "Miss, please come with me." She followed Saber into the living room of the villa. After entering the door, all eyes looked at her. For a moment, everyone's face showed a shocked expression. Yi Qing was shocked. She did not expect that there were so many women in Qin Haodong's family. Moreover, all of them were so beautiful that any one of them was not inferior to her. Lin Momo, Qi Wan'er, and Li Meiyu were all shocked because they all recognized Yi Qing. They never dreamed that the person who came to visit in the middle of the night was Yi Qing, who often appeared on the cover of financial magazines, the CEO of Haodong Group. Qin Haodong also did not expect that Yi Qing would come to his house so soon. Did she still want him to pay for her car? "Auntie, you're so beautiful." After seeing Yi Qing, the little fellow did not feel strange at all. On the contrary, she greeted her in a friendly manner. "Little sister, you're also beautiful." Yi Qing saw the little fellow who looked like a doll and immediately liked her very much. At this time, Lin Momo stepped forward and said, "President Yi, I didn't expect you to come here. Please have a seat." Yi Qing said, "Don't be so polite. Call me Yi Qing or Sister Qing." Qin Haodong secretly thought that, as expected, this woman was really Yi Qing. Yi Qing said to him, "I didn't expect that there were so many beautiful women in your house. It's simply a concentration camp of beautiful women. Can you introduce me to them?" "Introduce?" Oh. Of course, Qin Haodong would not do as she said. There were so many women in the room, and there were many relationships that could not be explained clearly to an outsider. He said, "Miss Yi, I tell you, you can only blame your driver for that car. It has nothing to do with me. Fortunately, you met me today. If it was someone else, they would have been killed by him. At that time, you would have gotten into big trouble." Yi Qing was slightly stunned, then she said with a smile, "You misunderstood me. I'm not here to ask you for compensation. On the contrary, I'm here to apologize for my driver. It was my driver's fault today. I fired him." Qin Haodong said, "Oh, there's no need to apologize. I'm not injured anyway." Yi Qing said, "But this matter is my driver's fault and I'm also responsible. In order to express my apology, I would like to invite you to the opening reception of our Haodong Group's financial summit tomorrow. I hope you can accept my apology." As she spoke, she took out a golden invitation and gave it to Qin Haodong. They had just been worried about the invitation to the financial summit. They did not expect it to be delivered to them so soon. Of course, Qin Haodong would not be polite. He took it and handed it to Lin Momo. "Thank you, Miss Yi. It's too late. I won't disturb your rest. See you at the reception tomorrow night. Remember to come." Yi Qing said and turned to walk out of the door. Qin Haodong had just received the invitation, so he had to be polite and follow her out. When they reached the gate, Yi Qing turned around and said, "Little brother, there are so many beautiful women here. Are they all your girlfriends?" The question was a little sudden. Qin Haodong said awkwardly, Well, not all of them," Yi Qing said with a smile. "So, there are still several." She was about to tease him when Qin Haodong's expression changed. He made a gesture to saber and sword behind him and said, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, about 100 meters away." Before Yi Qing could understand the meaning of his words, he saw that Long Dao and Sharp Sword had already galloped in those two directions. After a while they walked back, each carrying a black-clothed man. Yi Qing was shocked. She did not feel anything at all, but Qin Haodong found that someone was spying on them. What kind of cultivation was this? She was a level 6 Supreme Power Master. Saber and sword threw the two men in black in front of Qin Haodong. The two men shouted, "I'm just taking a walk. Why did you catch me?" "That's right. Are you great because you're rich? If you don't let me go, I'll call the police." Qin Haodong looked at the two of them with a playful expression and said with a smile, "Judging from your accent, are you from the capital?" One of the men in black said, "Yes, we are from the capital." "What's wrong?" Qin Haodong said, "Nothing. I just think you're amazing. You actually walked from the capital to Shanghai. Didn't you break your legs? Moreover, this is a completely closed community. How did you sneak in if you don't live here?" The two black-robed men were speechless for a moment. At this time, their hearts were full of questions. They had been following them for so many days without being discovered. How did they get caught in such a short time? He turned to look at Yi Qing and said, "These people seem to be coming for you. I'll give them to you." Yi Qing was the executive president of Haodong Group and the number 2 person with real power. It was not surprising that someone was following them. He directly sent the two men in black out. Yi Qing waved to an RV parked next to him, and the captain of the bodyguards jumped out. "Take them to the car and interrogate them. Take everything out of their mouths." "Yes." Seeing that his master was being followed, but he didn't notice it at all, the captain of the bodyguards suddenly felt ashamed. He fiercely grabbed the collars of the two men and dragged them to the RV. Yi Qing turned around and said to Qin Haodong, "Recently, I always felt that someone was following me, but I couldn't find them after trying several times. I didn't expect to find them here. I'm very curious. What's your cultivation? Why did you find the people I couldn't find? She was really very curious. With her cultivation of the 6th level of the Supreme Power Realm, she couldn't see through Qin Haodong's cultivation. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "My cultivation is not high, but I've been more sensitive than others since I was a child. When I went out, I felt that someone was spying on me, so I caught them." Although she had a good feeling about Yi Qin, she would not tell him the secret of her spirit. "Yes, thank you." After that, Yi Qin got in the car and left with his men. When Qin Haodong returned to the room, many women immediately surrounded him. Li Meiyu said, "You're really good at it. You even hooked up with Yi Qin of Haodong Group." Qin Haodong was speechless. "What do you mean by hooking up? It's the first time we've met, okay?" Li Meiyu said, "That's impossible. Who would send an invitation card to the first time they meet? There must be something going on." Chapter 549. Qin Haodong really had a headache with this jealous and protected target. If he had known this, he would rather stay under the girl's dormitory and sleep in the open than propose to pursue her. However, there was no other way. At this point, he could only patiently explain how he had a conflict with Yi Qing's driver, how he kicked the other party's Rolls-Royce from beginning to end, and finally said, "That's the situation. Before today I had never heard of the Haodong Group, let alone Yi Qing." Hearing this, Li Meiyu stopped talking. She took Jia Shirhan to the side to watch TV. Seeing that they had all left, Qin Haodong said to Lin Momo, "Someone sent me a pillow just when I was about to sleep. Now that I have the invitation to the financial summit, I can go to the meeting tomorrow." Lin Momo held the golden invitation letter and said, "But I still feel a little strange. I've asked these days. Yi Qing is very strict about the issuance of invitation letters. How could he give us one so casually? Even if she wants to apologize to you, she can do it in other ways. There is no need to send an invitation. Is there something we don't know?" Qin Haodong said, "Who cares? I'll go with you tomorrow. I'm not afraid of what others will do. And I don't think Yi Qing has any malice towards us. This should not be a trap." "I don't think there's any malice either. It's just that it's weird to send an invitation so casually." Lin Momo suddenly whispered in his ear, "Do you think Yi Qing wants to keep you?" "Do I look like a gigolo?" "Yes, very much so. I felt that the way she looked at you today was strange. I heard that she is 28 years old and still has no boyfriend. Maybe she fell in love with you at first sight?" Qin Haodong said, "I'm not that charming. Don't think too much. Take your daughter to bed." At the exhibition center, after Yi Qing returned to her room, she dialed Chu Xuanyue's phone again. "Sister, you haven't slept yet, have you?" "Well, not yet." Chu Xuanyue's voice was still full of excitement. There was finally news of her son, who had been missing for more than 20 years. How could she fall asleep? "I knew you weren't sleeping, so I sent a video to your mailbox. Take a look, there will be a surprise." Chu Xuanyue quickly turned on the computer and clicked on the video file. A chic villa appeared on the screen. It turned out that Yi Qing had just gone to Qin Haodong's house and secretly made a video. Now she had sent it to Chu Xuanyue. "Little Blue, where are we? Why do you want me to look after the building? Don't tell me you want to buy a house in Shanghai?" "Sister, your imagination is too rich. This is Qin Haodong's home. I just went to his place." As Yi Qing spoke, she told Chu Xuanyue the information she had found. "This kid is really outstanding. He has obtained the title of medical sage at such a young age and has established his own business. He also has his own team. His future is limitless. From the current situation, this Qin Haodong is very likely to be your lost son, but in the end it still depends on the DNA test. If he's the son of me and brother Zongheng, then he'll definitely be outstanding." Chu Xuanyue stared at the computer screen while chatting with Yi Qing. At this time, Qin Haodong's handsome face appeared on the screen. She jumped up from the bed and exclaimed, "Similar, it's too similar. This is simply a replica of brother Zongheng when he was young." Then she realized that not only did Qin Haodong look very much like Qin Zongheng, but his every move and speech revealed Qin Zongheng's shadow. "Son, this is my son. I finally see you. Sister, don't worry. Wait until I get the DNA test. Don't make a mistake and become a joke." Yi Qing teased, "Don't be so sure. Brother-in-law has been missing for so many years. Maybe he had another child with someone else." Chu Xuanyue's emotions calmed down a little and she said, "Little girl, you're talking nonsense again. Brother Zongheng is not that kind of person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have run away from home on his wedding night." As she spoke, she saw the little fellow and quickly asked, "Whose child is this?" Why is she so cute? I heard her call Qin Haodong daddy. What do you think? Oh my god, I already have a granddaughter. I'm a grandmother. Chu Shenyue was excited again. That's enough, old lady. Aren't you biased? When I wanted to call you mom, you insisted on calling me sister. You said that you were afraid of calling you old. Now you're willing to be a grandmother. Why aren't you afraid of being called old? Little girl, who are you calling old lady? She's still young. Chu Shenyue said discontentedly, I picked you up. You can call her whatever you want, but this is my granddaughter. I'm her grandmother. Yi Qing curled her lips and said, You're thinking too much. Qin Haodong is just 21 years old. How could he have such an old daughter? This is his adopted daughter. Chu Shenyue finally reacted. I was too happy just now. I forgot about this. This little girl is really too beautiful. I really hope she's my granddaughter. Yi Qing said, You don't have to worry about this. If Qin Haodong is really your son, he will have many children and grandchildren sooner or later. Do you see? There are so many girls living in his house, and each one is more beautiful than the other. Even I am jealous of them. He's almost a beauty collector. I see. She's really beautiful. She's almost as beautiful as I was when I was young. Lin Momo, Li Meiyu and Nalan Wushuang appeared on the screen. Chu Shenyue shouted excitedly, Do you think these are all my daughters-in-law? Old lady, you're really greedy. Yi Qing curled her lips again and said, I don't know which one is his girlfriend, but these girls all seem to have an inexplicable relationship with him. Also, don't be so narcissistic, okay? You weren't as beautiful as I am now when you were young. Nonsense. You didn't see it. I was known as the most beautiful woman in the capital at that time. You're a stunted girl. Old lady, if you say I'm stunted again, I'll go after your son tomorrow. How dare you? You're his aunt. I don't care. We're not related by blood anyway. Okay, you're beautiful. You're more beautiful than me, okay? After bickering for so many years, this was the first time Chu Shenyue had admitted defeat. Then she said excitedly, Xiaoqing, hurry up and get the DNA test done. Don't be so slow, okay? I really can't wait. Sister, can you be more reasonable? Your hair hasn't been sent yet. Where can I get a DNA test? Your hair will be delivered tomorrow, but what about Qin Haodong's? Do you want me to go over and draw his blood and pull out his hair? Chu Shenyue said, Then hurry up and think of a way. It's already the middle of the night. Where do you want me to think of a way? Yi Qing said, Forget it, I won't talk to you about this anymore. There's another important thing to tell you. What is it? Tell me. Chu Shenyue replayed the video. Yi Qing said, Today Qin Haodong helped me catch 2 people who were following me. I just interrogated them. They were sent by Han Zixing. They have been following me all this time, but they haven't found out. What? Han Zixing actually sent people to follow you? What does he want? Chu Xuanyue's face immediately turned cold, and then she said, You said that my son helped you catch the people who were following you? Could it be that his cultivation is higher than yours? Speaking of this, Chu Shenyue became excited again. He is indeed my son. He has reached this level in his 20s. Why are you so excited? Qin Haodong helped me catch them. It's not certain whether he is your son or not. Yi Qing said, I feel that his cultivation is not as good as mine, but he seems to have some special method, so he found the 2 people who were following me. Chu Shenyue was still excited and said, No matter what, my son is still very powerful. Tell me, what level has his cultivation reached? Yi Qing said, He broke the front of my Rolls-Royce with one kick. According to the situation at that time, it is very likely that he has broken through to the Supreme Power Realm. That's great. He broke through to the Supreme Power Realm at the age of 21. Back then, Brother Zongheng was known as the rare martial arts genius of the Qin family. My son is even better than him, Yi Qing said helplessly. Sister, I'm talking to you about the stalking. Don't keep talking about your son, okay? Chu Shenyue came back to her senses and said again, Why did Han Zixing send someone to follow you again? Yi Qing said, I don't know. They are only responsible for reporting my information. But it's easy to guess. I told you that he had bad intentions towards you and the Haodong company, but you didn't believe me. Now he has revealed his fox tail. I will settle the score with Han Zixing tomorrow. Yi Qing said, It's a small matter whether you settle the score or not. You have to be more careful in the future. Chu Shenyue said, I know what I'm doing. You should do the DNA identification first. The next morning, Han Zixing sat in his office and said to the housekeeper in front of him, What did you say? The 2 people responsible for tracking Yi Qing can't be contacted? The housekeeper said, "Yes, boss. We haven't been able to contact them since midnight last night. It seems that they are probably dead." Damn it. Han Zixing slammed the teacup on the table on the ground and said angrily, "Aren't they the tracking experts you hired at a high price? How did they find out?" Cold sweat broke out on the housekeeper's forehead and he said in a low voice, "Boss, these two people are indeed experts in tracking. They have been following the little witch for such a long time and nothing has happened. Who knew that they would suddenly lose contact?" Han Zixing took a deep breath and calmed his anger. He said, "You go out first. Immediately send someone to find the whereabouts of those two people and see if they have fallen into the hands of the little witch." "Yes, master." The housekeeper answered and turned to leave. As soon as he left, the door was pushed open from the outside. Chu Xianyue walked in angrily. Han Zixing's originally gloomy face was instantly filled with a smile like a blooming flower. "Xiaoyu, you're here. Sit down, I'll make you tea." "No need." Chu Xianyue said angrily. "Han Zixing, let me ask you, why did you send people to follow Yi Qing?" Han Zixing still said with a smile on his face, "Xiaoyu, we grew up together. If there's anything we can talk about it. There's no need to get angry." Chu Xianyue said, "You must give me an explanation now. Otherwise we'll break up and never see each other again. Your temper hasn't changed at all after so many years." Han Zixing placed a cup of brewed tea in front of Chu Xianyue and said, "Yes, I sent them, but I did it for your own good." Chu Xianyue said angrily, "Nonsense. Don't you know that Yi Qing is my sister? Why did you send people to follow her?" Chapter 550. I've already told you. Listen to me slowly. Han Zixing said, "Haodong Group was built by you, but now Yi Qing is getting more and more powerful. Many people in Haodong Group only know that she is the CEO, but they don't know that you are the chairman. I was afraid that one day she would do something to let you down. You had already been hurt once and I didn't want to see you hurt again, so I sent someone to keep an eye on her. But don't worry, I really don't have any ill intentions towards you. Don't try to drive a wedge between us. Yi Qing is my sister, so she's no different from my daughter. What's mine is hers. In the future I'll hand over the entire group to her." Han Zixing said, "You're right. You do treat Yi Qing as your daughter, but there's no blood relationship between you. She's not your biological daughter. How could she treat you sincerely? Who knows, one day she might be the one to do it. I'll stab you." Chu Xianyue said, "Han Zixing, let me tell you, it's useless to sow discord. If I find out that you sent someone to follow Yi Qing in the future, I will definitely not spare you." Han Zixing sighed and said with a sad expression, "Xiaoya, it's been so many years. Can't you see my sincerity towards you? I haven't married for so many years because I'm waiting for the day you change your mind. I don't have any extravagant wishes in this life. I just want to be happy with you and have a lovely child. I know you treat Yi Qing as your daughter, but she's not your biological child after all. We can have our own child, so why should we rely on outsiders?" Han Zixing, how many times have I told you that it's impossible between us? I only have brother Zongheng in my heart. Just give up. After Chu Xianyue finished speaking, she slammed the door and left. Han Zixing's face darkened again. He said with a sinister expression, "You shameless woman. Sooner or later you will kneel down and beg me." At 8 o'clock in the evening, they arrived at the Shanghai Convention and Exhibition Center on time. Those who came to the banquet were all big consortiums with tens of billions of yuan. The parking lot became a luxury car show for a while. Luxury cars worth tens of millions of yuan were everywhere. In contrast, Qin Haodong's Mercedes-Benz SUV looked a little shabby. He parked the car and walked to the banquet with Lin Momo. The financial summit was extremely strict with the participants. No matter who it was, they had to go through the screening before they could enter. As soon as they arrived at the entrance, 2 uniformed security guards stopped them. "Sir, are you here to attend the banquet?" The security guard looked Qin Haodong up and down, feeling that he was not a millionaire with a net worth of more than 10 billion yuan. Qin Haodong nodded and took out the golden invitation card. After seeing the invitation, the security guard was taken aback. Then he revealed a puzzled look. He took the invitation in his hand and examined it carefully. Then he sent it to the electronic detector next to him for an electronic scan. The invitations issued by the Haodong Group were all specially made. Not only did they look extremely exquisite, but they were also equipped with electronic chips that recorded the owner's personal information. After a beep, Qin Haodong's personal information immediately appeared on the electronic screen. After confirming that there was no problem with the invitation card, The two security guards immediately became extremely respectful. They saluted Qin Haodong and Lin Momo and said, "Welcome to the banquet. Please come in." Qin Haodong didn't care about this. He took back the invitation and walked to the banquet hall with Lin Momo. There was still half an hour before the banquet officially began, but the place was already bustling with noise. For this kind of commercial banquet, the people who came to participate generally had their own purposes. Most of them wanted to expand their contacts through the banquet and find as many business opportunities as possible that were beneficial to their own industry. This was also the main reason why Lin Momo advocated attending the banquet. Qin Haodong was not good at this kind of communication, nor was he keen on it. He left it to Lin Momo. He chose some of his favorite delicacies and sat in the corner to slowly taste them. Zhou Xinzhu came to the banquet wearing a low-cut black evening dress. Everywhere she went, she immediately attracted the attention and exclamations of countless people, which made her extremely satisfied. In the past, when she attended this kind of banquet, many people surrounded her and flattered her. However, that was only because she was the eldest daughter of the Zhou family and could bring countless wealth to those people. But today was different. She could see that many people looked at her with pure eyes. It was the kind of pure eyes that men had for women. They even stared at her towering chest. Although she didn't like the eyes of those people, she was secretly happy that her charm had increased. She was no longer the flat-chested woman from before. Occasionally, when she met one or two women who had laughed at her before, she could see the surprise, envy, and jealousy in their eyes. She enjoyed this feeling very much. To describe it in an advertisement, it was good to be a woman. At the same time, there was a kind of regret in her heart. She knew who had brought all this to her, but that person could not attend the banquet tonight. It would be great if he could be her partner. Recently, every time she thought of Qin Haodong's handsome face, there was a burst of heat in her heart. This was a feeling that she had never felt before. She slowly walked into the banquet while dealing with many men who tried to hit on her. In the middle of the venue, two handsome young men were holding wine glasses and chatting. From time to time, some ladies and noblewomen came over to strike up a conversation, but they were all rejected. They were Sun Qian from the Sun family and Zheng Hongliang from the Zheng family. They were the core third-generation heirs that their families had focused on training. Today they had come to attend the banquet on behalf of their families. It had to be said that both of them had the capital to be proud of. They were handsome, graduated from a famous foreign university, had a high status in the family, and had already taken over part of the family business. They were very competitive for the throne of the family head. Sun Qian saw Zhou Xinzhu walking over leisurely. He glanced at her perfect figure and exclaimed, "Young Master Zheng, I've long heard that Zhou Xinzhu's figure has become better. She has changed from a flat figure to a devilish one. I didn't believe it, but now it seems to be true." Zheng Hongliang looked at Zhou Xinzhu and nodded frequently. This woman's face was flawless before, but her figure was too thin and she didn't look feminine at all. Now she's really different. Even an international model can't compare to her. Sun Qian said, "Since she's here, let's go and have a look." Zheng Hongliang nodded and walked side by side with Sun Qian to Zhou Xinzhu. They were all core members of their families. They had met many times on such occasions before, so they were very familiar with each other. Sun Qian put on a pose that he thought was very handsome and said, "Xinzhu, you're so beautiful tonight. You're the highlight of the whole banquet." Zheng Hongliang said, "That's right. It's said that a girl changes 18 times as she grows up. The more she changes, the more beautiful she becomes. Xinzhu, you didn't change 18 times at all but 72 times. You've become a fairy." Zhou Xinzhu smiled and said, "I'm still me. I haven't changed much. It's you who have changed. You're getting better and better at making girls happy." Sun Qian said, "Xinzhu, the old master asked you to attend this banquet on behalf of the Zhou family. It seems that he wants to train you as the heir of the family." Zhou Xinzhu smiled and said, "It's just a banquet. It doesn't mean anything." Zheng Hongliang said, "That's different. Don't you see what kind of banquet it is? It's a banquet for the financial summit held by the Haodong Group. Ordinary people may not be able to get in for their entire lives." At this point, a proud expression appeared on his face. One had to know that he had spent a lot of effort in his family to get this spot. To be able to represent the Zheng family to attend this banquet was already a very good thing. Zhou Xinzhu said, "I don't think as much as you think. I just came here to broaden my horizons and learn from all the big shots." Sun Qian glanced greedily at Zhou Xinzhu's curvaceous figure and quietly swallowed a mouthful of saliva. "Xinzhu, our Sun family has recently opened a new top entertainment city. The conditions are good in all aspects. Why don't we go there to sing and dance after the banquet? This kind of invitation was very common in upper-class banquets. There was a deep meaning in it. Generally, after singing and dancing, they would roll in the sheets. I'm sorry, young Master Sunday. I haven't been feeling well recently. I need to go back and rest after the banquet. Zhou Xinzhu unceremoniously refused Sun Qian's invitation. The relationship between the Sun family, the Zheng family, and the Zhou family was very delicate. They had a lot of cooperation, but at the same time they were also competitors. They were always on guard against being swallowed by each other. The most important thing was that she didn't have a good impression of the two people in front of her. She even felt disgusted. At this moment she was stunned. She saw Qin Haodong, who was eating in the corner. I'm sorry, young masters. Excuse me. I saw an important friend. After that, she lifted the hem of her dress and hurried into the banquet. Sun Qian and Zheng Hongliang's faces sank at the same time. What did she mean? An important friend? Did she mean that they were not important? Then, when they saw Zhou Xinzhu come to Qin Haodong like a happy swallow, their expressions changed again. The young man in front of them was the common enemy of the Sun family and the Zheng family. Haodong, you're here. Zhou Xinzhu sat next to Qin Haodong and naturally put her hands on his arm. This kind of intimate gesture made many men next to them jealous. Then Zhou Xinzhu seemed to realize something and asked in a low voice, Haodong, how did you get in? Qin Haodong smiled and said, What's so strange about that? I came in through the door. Zhou Xinzhu asked, Did you get the invitation? After Qin Haodong made the phone call, she made a lot of efforts, but she still couldn't get an invitation to the financial summit. In her opinion, although Qin Haodong was very capable, he was a newcomer in the business world of Shanghai. He couldn't be compared with the Zhou family, let alone get an invitation from Yi Qin. Qin Haodong nodded and said, I got it. How is that possible? Zhou Xinzhu asked in surprise, I thought of a lot of ways for you, but I couldn't get it. How did you get it? Qin Haodong said with a smile, Yi Qin sent it to my home last night. Zhou Xinzhu punched him on the shoulder and said with a smile, Don't be serious. He's the CEO of the Haodong Group, the number 2 person with real power. How could he send you an invitation? Qin Haodong smiled helplessly. Nowadays, why didn't anyone believe the truth? Zhou Xinzhu leaned against his ear and whispered, Did you sneak in? Qin Haodong smiled again. He really had no interest in explaining this kind of thing. Zheng Hongliang looked at the intimate expression between Zhou Xinzhu and Qin Haodong. His face became gloomier and he said in a cold voice, Young Master Sun, I heard that your Sun family has been doing a lot recently. You're renovating your house, right? Sun Qian's face darkened. He was obviously mocking the Sun family for being destroyed by Qin Haodong. Chapter 551. Young Master Zheng, I heard that your brother, Zheng Hongda, put on a nude performance in Shanghai a few days ago. It's already on the hot search list. It's really eye-opening. Sun Qian was naturally unwilling to be outdone and immediately retorted. Zheng Hongliang's expression froze, and then he said, Your brother, Sun Jin, was also kicked out of the Sun family with his legs broken. Sun Qian suddenly looked at Zheng Hongliang and then sighed, Forget it, what's the point of talking about this? He's our common enemy. That's right, this kid is our common enemy. Zheng Hongliang said, Are you interested in joining forces to mess with him and make him lose all his face here? Sun Jin quickly shook his head and said, Forget it. You just said that my brother's legs were broken and he was kicked out of the Sun family. The old man naturally has his own plan. I can't act recklessly. Sun Xingtian's punishment of Sun Jin caused a great uproar in the Sun family. At the same time, it also served as a warning to others. Everyone had seen the old man's attitude, so no one dared to provoke Qin Haodong again. Zheng Hongliang said, Young Master Sun, are you scared out of your wits? Sun Qian shook his head with a wry smile, It's useless to be brave. It will only bring disaster to oneself. Zheng Hongliang said, In fact, we don't need to do anything. We can also make this guy lose face. Sun Qian looked up at him and asked, Do you have a way? Tell me about it. He hated Qin Haodong to the core now. If there was such an opportunity, of course he would not let it go. Zheng Hongliang said, This guy is indeed very powerful. Now the Daddy Security Company is also very famous, and some people even put them above our 3 big families. But so what? It's a commercial society now. It's useless to rely on force alone. Money is the king. Do you think he can attend today's banquet with his Daddy Security Company or his identity? Sun Qian's eyes lit up. He seemed to have thought of something and asked, What do you mean, young Master Zheng? Zheng Hongliang smiled and said, do you still need to ask? It's impossible for him to get an invitation from the Haodong group. This guy must have sneaked in with his own skills. As long as we tell the management of the venue, he will naturally be driven out. At that time we can just stand by and watch him make a fool of himself. Besides, he asked for it himself, so he can't blame others at all. Young Master Zheng, it's really a good idea. Sun Qian gave Zheng Hongliang a thumbs up. Just then, a slightly chubby middle-aged man walked over with a kind smile on his face. His surname was Zhang, and he was the manager appointed by Yi Qing. He was in charge of today's banquet. Zheng Hongliang stepped forward and said, Steward Zhang, I have something to tell you. Someone has sneaked into today's banquet. I'm not. Someone really did sneak in. Manager Zhang said, Hongliang, Sun Hongliang, master, I'm not joking with you. Someone really sneaked in. If you don't believe me, you can ask young Master Sun. Sun, after, Zheng Qian, Zheng Sun, on, masters of, Sun. Young masters, where is the person you were talking about? Zheng Hongliang pointed to Qin Haodong and said, it's him. How could a security company owner have tens of billions of assets? It's impossible for him to get President Ye's invitation, so he must have sneaked in. Sun Qian added, look at his outfit. It's only 1 or 2,000 yuan in total. Although he has a security company, a bumpkin is a bumpkin. People in our circle can still tell at a glance. Steward Zhang looked at Qin Haodong, who was talking happily with Zhou Xinzhu. Indeed, this person's clothes were too ordinary. He was out of place with the rich and noble next to him. Moreover, looking at the way he was eating, he was gulping down big mouthfuls. He didn't look like a gentleman at all. Thinking of this, he had already believed most of Zheng Hongliang's words, and immediately walked in the direction of Qin Haodong. Zheng Hongliang and Sun Qian looked at each other and smiled. It seemed that their plan had succeeded. The two of them also walked over, wanting to see how Qin Haodong would be driven out of here. When Zhou Xinzhu saw these people coming over, she had a bad feeling in her heart. She asked, Steward Zhang, what's the matter? Steward Zhang smiled formally and said, Miss Zhou, it's nothing. I just want to see this gentleman's invitation. Then he looked at Qin Haodong. Zhou Xinzhu immediately understood and said angrily, Zheng Hongliang, Sun Qian, were you two behind this? She had the same idea as these two people. She thought that Qin Haodong had sneaked in. Hearing that the two people's surnames were Sun and Zheng, how could Qin Haodong not understand what was going on? He looked at them coldly. Sun Qian quickly lowered his head. He didn't even have the courage to look at them. In contrast, Zheng Hongliang was calmer. He spread out his hands and said, Xinzhu, you misunderstood. We just happened to pass by. This has nothing to do with us. Steward Zhang naturally knew how to behave. He said with a smile, Indeed, this is my personal idea. It has nothing to do with the two young masters. I just want to see this gentleman's invitation. Qin Haodong turned his gaze to Steward Zhang and said, Give me a reason. Steward Zhang said with a little embarrassment, Sir, please don't mind me. I just think you look unfamiliar, so I want to see your invitation. Qin Haodong pointed to the people at the banquet and said, Steward Zhang, there are so many people. Do you know all of them? Or do you want to check everyone's invitation again? Although he had brought an invitation, this guy was only checking him, which was obviously discriminatory. Naturally, he wouldn't give in so easily. However, when Steward Zhang heard this, he was even more convinced that this man didn't have an invitation, but was bluffing. He said, Sir, it's my duty to check the invitation. Please cooperate with me. Qin Haodong shook his head and said, I'm sorry, I can't cooperate with you. If you don't trust me, you can ask the security guard at the door. Zheng Hongliang sneered and said, Are you not cooperating or not? The threshold for this financial summit held by the Haodong Group is tens of billions of assets. Some people don't seem to be qualified to enter at all. The formal smile on Steward Zhang's face disappeared and he said in a cold voice, Sir, if you can't show me your invitation, please leave. The conversation had attracted a lot of people's attention and they all looked over. Zheng Hongliang and Sun Qian were both proud. This guy was about to be kicked out. It was really satisfying. Zhou Xinzhu said anxiously, Steward Zhang, this is my friend. Steward Zhang said, Miss Zhou, you have an invitation, so you are our distinguished guest. But this gentleman doesn't have an invitation, so he is not a member here. I can only perform my duty. Otherwise, if Boss Yi finds out, she will punish me. Qin Haodong's face darkened. How could this guy be so sure that he didn't have an invitation? Was he like a person who had sneaked in? Just as he was thinking about whether to turn hostile, Zhou Xinzhu said, "Steward Zhang, according to the rules of this summit, I am a member and can recommend other new members. Now I officially recommend Qin Haodong to be a member of this summit." Zheng Hongliang sneered and said, "Xinzhu, you're right. There is such a rule in the terms of the summit, but it requires the recommendation of 4 members. It's not enough to rely on you alone. If I help with Sun Qian, it will be possible. Unfortunately, we are not willing to help." Speaking of this, he smiled proudly, as if he had already seen Qin Haodong being driven out of the club by the security guards. "You need 4 members. Count me in." Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a tall woman walking over. It was the patriarch of the Japanese Yagyu family, Yagyu Yukaim. Walking to the front of Steward Zhang, Yagyu Yukaim said, "I recommend Mr. Qin to be a member of our summit. At the same time, I officially announce that anyone who is Mr. Qin's enemy is the enemy of our Yagyu family." As soon as these words came out, the audience was in an uproar. Everyone knew very well who Yagyu Yukaim was. She was the new patriarch of the Japanese Yagyu family. Not only was she beautiful, but she was also ruthless. She was a real power figure. Her family and its affiliated families had more than a dozen financial groups. At this financial summit, many people had the idea of cooperating with the Yagyu family. They had not expected that such a person would publicly stand up to support Qin Haodong. This made many people who did not know Qin Haodong full of curiosity. Who was this young man? How could he have such a great personality? Sun Qian and Zheng Hongliang secretly gritted their teeth. What was so good about this toy boy? Why did so many beautiful women have a special liking for him? Why was it that no one liked him when he was so handsome and outstanding? Zheng Hongliang said, "Even with the patriarch of the Yagyu family, there are only 2 people. They haven't met the requirements of the summit. Then count me in as well." With a stiff Wuxia accent, Maldini Jr. appeared in front of Qin Haodong. The people who had just calmed down were boiling again. In terms of status in the financial world, Maldini Jr. was definitely above Yagyu Yukaim. The Midas investment company he controlled was one of the most influential investment companies in the world. Countless people were looking forward to the day when they could become the investment target of the company. In addition, Maldini Jr. had a very powerful father, Old Maldini, who was a top boss in the global financial world. His sneeze could make the global financial market tremble. It could be said that Maldini Jr. was the most influential person at this financial summit besides Yi Qin. "Dear Mr. Qin, we meet again." Maldini Jr. gave Qin Haodong an affectionate bear hug. Then he turned around and said to the crowd, "Like the beautiful Miss Yagyu, I officially announce that Mr. Qin is a friend of our Maldini family. His enemy is my enemy." As soon as he finished speaking, the audience was silent. They looked at Qin Haodong with shock and respect. What was the background of this young man who could make the Maldini family a friend? Was he the illegitimate son of a political giant? Or was he the core heir of a big family? Steward Zhang was shocked by the scene in front of him. If there was only Zhou Xinzhu, he could completely ignore it. But now Yagyu Yukaim and Maldini Jr. were standing next to Qin Haodong. Did he really dare to send someone to drive such a person out of the venue? However, the current situation was difficult to get off. He couldn't drive them away, nor could he retreat. Zheng Hongliang suppressed his inner jealousy and said again, including Mr. Maldini Jr., "There are only 3 people. There is still 1 short of the 4 members required by the summit." In his opinion, the members present were all noble. It was already very good that Qin Haodong had found 3. It was impossible for him to find a 4th. But at this moment, another clear voice sounded, "And me." Chapter 552. Seeing Kim Ji-hyun coming, even Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. It was expected that Yagyu Yukaim and Maldini Jr. would help him, but it was really beyond his expectation that this woman from Koryo would also stand on his side. Kim Ji-hyun walked into the crowd and stood side by side with Yagyu Yukaim. "Mr. Qin is my most respected teacher. Anyone who is his enemy is also the enemy of our Kim group." At this moment, everyone's hearts were about to collapse. Although this financial summit was of a very high standard and there were major consortiums from all over the world, the top 3 were M country's Midas Investment Company, Japan's Yagyu family, and Koryo's Kim group. Now the heads of the 3 consortiums stood on Qin Haodong's side, which shocked everyone. In particular, Zheng Hongliang and Sun Qian were extremely shocked. They had thought that Qin Haodong had no foundation in Shanghai, so no one would stand up to help him. They didn't expect that he would get such strong help in the blink of an eye. Manager Zhang let out a long sigh of relief, as if a burden had been lifted from his heart. Now that there were 4 people, he finally didn't need to drive Qin Haodong out. At the same time, he hated Zheng Hongliang and Sun Qian. How could they do that? How could I drive such a powerful person out? How could I live? The people around recovered from the shock and began to talk. Who is this young man? Is he a prince of some country? I don't know. If I can get the help of these 3 consortiums, I will be so happy. No matter who he is, we have to make friends with him later. Such a powerful person will definitely help our consortiums. While everyone was whispering, Lin Momo came in from outside. She had just walked around the banquet, trying to communicate with the guests present and create some influence for Lin's jewelry, which was about to open for business. However, she was disappointed. All the people who took the initiative to talk to her were attracted by her beauty. They asked her to go out and have sex with her. There were even 2 who went too far and directly offered to keep her as their mistress. No one was interested in Lin's jewelry. With deep disappointment, she returned to Qin Haodong's place, only to see that it was already full of people. She followed Kim Jihyun back to Qin Haodong and asked in surprise, "Haodong, what's going on?" "It's nothing. It's just a small situation." Qin Haodong comforted Lin Momo. He turned around and said to Yagyu Yukaim and the others, "Thank you for your help, but there's no need. I have an invitation." Under everyone's gaze, he took out a golden invitation from Lin Momo's bag and handed it to Manager Zhang. When he saw the color of the invitation, Steward Zhang's heart skipped a beat. As the supervisor of the venue, he naturally understood the significance of this colored invitation letter. This was an invitation letter for the most distinguished guests. Furthermore, Yi Qing had specifically instructed him to give guests with this invitation letter the same treatment as an emperor. But what did he just do? Not only did they want to check the invitation letter of the VIP, but they also wanted to drive them out. If Yi Qing found out, the consequences would be unimaginable. Thinking of this, he broke out in a cold sweat and froze there. For a moment he didn't know what to do. Zheng Hongliang said, "Everyone has an invitation letter for today's meeting. What do you mean by taking someone else's? Don't tell me one invitation card can bring 2 people?" After he finished speaking, the others also recovered from the shock. According to the rules of this summit, everyone had an invitation letter. No bodyguards or friends were allowed to bring it into the venue. What's wrong with this young man? He has just collected 4 recommendation places and obtained membership. Why does he need to use someone else's invitation letter? Yes, it's really unwise. Isn't he looking for trouble for himself? Qin Haodong ignored the discussion next to him and said to Steward Zhang, "Explain to everyone." Steward Zhang wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and said, "Everyone, this is a supreme VIP invitation letter issued by President Yi. It's different from ordinary invitations. This kind of invitation letter can bring 10 people, let alone 2. At this time, everyone noticed that the invitation letter in Qin Haodong's hand was dazzling gold, while their invitations were all red. Steward Zhang answered the questions in their hearts, but also aroused their curiosity. Just now, the 4 great families stood up to help, and now he got a VIP invitation letter from President Yi. What was the identity of this young man? Zheng Hongliang's face was burning. Just now, he thought that Qin Haodong had sneaked in and was not qualified to get an invitation to the summit. But in the blink of an eye, he took out a supreme VIP invitation letter, which was a level higher than the invitation letter in his hand. How could he bear it? No, he's a medical college student. At best, he has a daddy security company. How could he get a supreme invitation letter from President Yi? Thinking of this, he immediately cried, "Steward Zhang, it's fake. His invitation letter must be fake. Take a look." Steward Zhang turned around and glared at him. "You've tricked me enough, haven't you? Qin Haodong has already taken out the supreme invitation letter. If I run over to check it, isn't that courting death?" At this moment, another cold voice sounded, "Who has the guts to question the invitation letter I sent out?" As soon as the voice fell, Yi Qing walked in from outside. She deserved to be the number 2 figure of the Haodong group. She exuded a powerful aura as she walked, just like a proud queen. Seeing Yi Qing coming, everyone made way for her and let her go straight to Qin Haodong. Yi Qing looked around and finally set her cold eyes on Zheng Hongliang. "Are you questioning the supreme invitation letter I sent out?" Zheng Hongliang suddenly felt a chill rising from his back. Before he came this time, he had vowed in front of old Master Zheng that he would definitely get the greatest benefits for the Zheng family and expand the greatest network. He didn't expect that he would offend Yi Qing before the summit began. If old Master Zheng knew about this, he would probably end up worse than Sun Jin. He quickly said respectfully, "Mr. Yi, you misunderstood me. I didn't mean that. I just haven't seen a golden invitation letter before, so I'm a little curious." Yi Qing said coldly, "Just this once. If there's a next time, don't blame me for revoking your Zheng family's membership." No, absolutely not. Zheng Hongliang was scared out of his wits. The financial summit held by the Haodong Group had countless commercial resources. If he lost his membership, he would be scared. Sun Qian, who had been silent, secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, he had learned his lesson this time and didn't directly stand up against Qin Haodong. Otherwise he would have ended up like Zheng Hongliang. Yi Qing turned around and said to Steward Zhang next to her, "Who gave you the guts to check the VIP invitation letter in the venue?" "Mr. Yi." At this time Steward Zhang wanted to die. According to the rules, checking the invitation letter was the job of the gatekeeper. After the guests entered the venue, they couldn't casually check it, otherwise it would be disrespectful to the guests. Not only did he violate the rules, but he also offended such a big shot. This responsibility couldn't be shirked in any case. "Okay, go to the finance department to settle the bill, then leave the Haodong Group. Don't come back in the future." Yi Qing's words directly smashed Steward Zhang's job. Steward Zhang's face was ashen. He knew that he had made a terrible mistake today, so he could only leave the banquet in silence. In his heart, he cursed Sun Qian and Zheng Hongliang's ancestors. If it weren't for these two guys, he wouldn't have come to court death. After dealing with the disturbance, Yi Qing said to everyone, "This is my brother Qin Haodong, the most distinguished guest of the Haodong Group. If anyone dares to disrespect my brother again, get out of here directly." His words were sonorous and powerful. The entire place was silent, but everyone's hearts were already in a state of shock. They knew very well how arrogant Yi Qing was. It was impossible for ordinary people to meet him on ordinary days. Why did he value this young man so much? Who was he? Although there was no answer for the time being, they all had a firm belief in their hearts. It must be right to be on good terms with this young man. Yi Qing continued, "My brother has started a new jewelry company in Shanghai, Lin's Jewelry. I hope you can come and support us in the future." Qin Haodong was also a little surprised by Yi Qing's reaction. It was not an exaggeration to call this woman a proud daughter of heaven. In the capital she was even called the Little Witch. Why did she favor him so much? Not only did she specially send him a unique supreme invitation, but she also advertised Lin's Jewelry in public to improve the status of Lin's Jewelry. If it was just to express her apology, he wouldn't believe it himself. When the matter was over, the banquet continued. Qin Haodong said to Yi Qing, "President Yi, thank you for your help." "Don't thank me. From now on you are my brother. If you need anything, just come to me." Yi Qing smiled at Qin Haodong and said, "You go ahead. I'm going to get ready. The banquet is about to begin." After that she left and walked backstage. As soon as Yi Qing left, the others immediately swarmed up and surrounded Qin Haodong and Lin Momo. These people now understood that making friends with the two young people in front of them was equivalent to making friends with the Haodong Group, which was equivalent to making friends with Maldini Jr., Yagi Yukaim, and Kim Ji-hyun. Of course, they would not let go of such a good opportunity. For a time, they flattered and fawned over Qin Haodong and Lin Momo, overwhelming them. As for socializing, Qin Haodong left it to Lin Momo. It was not easy for him to rush out of the crowd. Zhou Xinju came over and said, "What's wrong? Don't you like this kind of occasion?" Qin Haodong said indignantly, "These people are really too much. That old man is obviously in his 70s. He doesn't have many years to live, but he still wants to kowtow to me and become sworn brothers with me. Isn't this a trap? And that old man is clamoring to marry his daughter to me. Look at him. He should be at least 80 years old. How old would his daughter be? I don't have such a heavy taste. You can't blame others for this. You are the focus of the whole banquet now. Everyone wants to have a relationship with you." Zhou Xinju giggled and said, "I'm young. Why don't you think about it?" "That's fine." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "When the banquet is over, let's cut off their heads and drink yellow wine. From now on we will be brothers." Zhou Xinju glared at him charmingly and said, "Go to hell. You know that's not what I mean." Lin Momo was surrounded by many members. Originally, she had walked around in a circle, but none of the business cards she had prepared had been sent out. Now they were all snatched up. Many people also specifically asked about the opening date and location of Lin's Jewelry, and left her contact number. After a busy time, it was time for the banquet to begin. Yi Qing slowly walked to the front stage. On the contrary, if they took out an auction item and no one bid for it, even if they spent money to bid for it, they would still lose face. The Sun family was one of the top families in Shanghai. They had made a lot of friends over the years, so someone immediately called out a price for Sun Qian's pipe. 100,000, 120,000, 115,000. After several bids, the pipe was finally sold for 200,000 yuan. In fact, this price had already exceeded the value of the pipe. This made Sun Qian's face light up. He stood up and cupped his fists to express his gratitude to the people around him. 200,000 yuan. Congratulations, Mr. Sunday. You have given your love to the children in the poor area. After a few courteous words, the host continued the auction. After that, more than a dozen items were auctioned in succession. There were all kinds of things, and the highest price reached 3 million. In order to show the public welfare of this auction, there was no fixed order for each item to be auctioned. It was randomly selected by the MC according to the number on the invitation letter. The members who were selected would take out the items they had prepared in advance for the auction. The next person to be selected happened to be Zheng Hongliang. He gave a jade bracelet that he had prepared earlier to the host. When the auctioneer got the jade bracelet, her expression changed slightly and she said, "Mr. Zheng, if I'm not wrong, this is a jade bracelet made of mutton fat jade, right?" Zheng Hongliang said with a smug expression on his face, "Yes, this is a mutton fat jade bracelet I bought a few years ago when I went to Dongjiang province. I also asked someone to identify it. It is indeed a high-quality mutton fat jade." The auctioneer said, "Mr. Zheng is really a philanthropist. For the sake of the children in the poor area, you are willing to give up your treasure. I thank you on behalf of the children. Let's start the bidding." All the people present were billionaires. Many of them could see the value of this jade bracelet. The market price should be more than 1 million yuan. Therefore, when the auction began, the first bidder shouted the price of 1 million yuan. Then, one after another, bids came one after another. 1 million, 5 million, 2 million. It could be seen that Zheng Hongliang still had a great influence in the circle. In the end, the jade bracelet was sold for 5 million yuan, becoming the most expensive item in this charity auction so far. "Thank you, my friends." Zheng Hongliang stood up and cupped his hands. His face was full of pride. On the one hand, it showed that he was generous. On the other hand, it also proved that he had a position in this circle. He had friends and people were willing to support him. The auction continued. Perhaps God deliberately wanted to make a little joke. The next guest turned out to be Qin Haodong. Zheng Hongliang looked in his direction, secretly delighted. "Brat, it's your bad luck to be ranked behind me. Let's see what you can take out. If it's too weak, you'll definitely lose face under this young master's brilliance." Although the purpose of the auction was to give love to charity, if the price difference between the two auctioned items was too big, it would still be a little embarrassing or even humiliating. Hearing the host read out the number of Qin Haodong's invitation letter, Lin Momo was nervous and whispered, "Haodong, what should we do?" If they had prepared in advance, they could have taken out a piece of jewelry from Lin's jewelry store. However, they had not received any news before, so they had not prepared anything. "Don't worry, I have a way." Qin Haodong patted Lin Momo's hand to comfort her. At this time, the hostess came to him with a tray, waiting to show the auction item. He was also going to take out a physique-improving pill for auction. But at this moment, Yi Qing came over and said to everyone present, "Everyone, the purpose of our auction today is for charity. I don't think the auction item itself is of great significance. The key is to see how much love you can bring out. If the auction item itself is very valuable, it will lose the original intention of a charity auction." After she finished speaking, the complacent look on Zheng Hongliang's face suddenly disappeared. Among the auctions just now, the most expensive item was his mutton fat jade bracelet. Her words were tantamount to a direct denial of his practice. Yi Qing did not look at him and continued, "So, I want to make a little special on Mr. Qing's auction item. He doesn't need to take out any auction item. He only needs to show the simplest thing so that it can better reflect everyone's love for charity." Everyone at the banquet was immediately curious. They all wanted to know what the simple thing Yi Qing said was, including Qin Haodong. He did not know what Yi Qing was going to do. Under everyone's curious gaze, Yi Qing stretched out her slender fingers, pulled out a hair from Qin Haodong's head, and put it back on the tray next to her. "Well, I announced that the next auction item is Mr. Qin's hair." After Yi Qing finished speaking, she directly asked the hostess to send the tray to the auctioneer. Qin Haodong almost choked on his own saliva. Auctioning hair, what did this female president want to do? The guests at the scene were restless, and they did not understand why Yi Qing asked Qin Haodong to sell a hare. How much could a hare be sold for? If it was sold too little, would it be very shameful? If no one bid, would it be more shameful? A cold smile appeared at the corner of Zheng Hongliang's mouth. His last item was sold for 5 million yuan. How much could a hare of Qin Haodong be sold for? 30 or 50. Who would want a hare for? This was simply asking to be humiliated. The auctioneer's mood was the most complicated. Looking at the shiny black hare on the tray, he felt like he was about to collapse. He had been in this business for almost half of his life. He was the white gloves of the auction house and the top auctioneer. Countless things had been auctioned by him, but he had never sold a hare. How could he introduce it? Could it be that the owner of this hare was healthy and did not lack phosphorus or calcium? He simply did not introduce it. He shouted the starting price of 1 yuan and directly started the auction. Dear friends, dear guests, it's time to test your love. Please bid for this special auction item. After the auctioneer shouted, there was silence in the hall, and many people did not come back to their senses. At this time they heard a playful voice say, I bid 2 yuan. Everyone immediately looked in the direction of the voice. It was Sun Qian who shouted the price. He hated Qin Haodong to the core, but he did not dare to take the initiative to provoke Qin Haodong because of Sun Xingtian's family rules. However, people could bid freely in the auction. He shouted 2 yuan to humiliate Qin Haodong, and no one could find fault with it. Zheng Hongliang reacted immediately and shouted, I'll pay 3. He also felt a burst of joy in his heart. Aren't you awesome? Don't you have Yi Qing's protection? But no one can stop me from bidding, right? But just as he shouted, someone else shouted, I'll pay 100,000 yuan. As soon as the voice fell, there was an uproar in the hall. Who offered 100,000 yuan for a strand of hair? Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw that it was Kim Ji-hyun from the Kim family of Koryo who raised the number plate in her hand. Qin Haodong smiled. This little girl was really supportive of him today. Just when everyone had not come back to their senses, another clear voice shouted, I bid 1 million yuan. This time it was Yagyu Yukaim who raised the number plate. Qin Haodong was both her master and her man. Of course, she would not see her master lose face, so she directly increased the price by 10 times. Oh my god, 1 million yuan for a strand of hair? The Yagyu family is really rich. 1 million yuan for a strand of hair. What's on this young man's head? It's not hair, it's a gold bar. The auctioneer also felt like vomiting blood. 1 million yuan for a strand of hair was really rare, but because of his duty he still had to continue. This Miss Yagyu bids 1 million yuan. Who else is willing to show their love? 1 million yuan once, 1 million yuan twice. When he was about to pick up the auction hammer and end this absurd auction, someone shouted, I bid 10 million yuan. Chapter 554. Hearing this price, the auctioneer was so scared that his wrist trembled and he almost dropped the auction hammer on the table. 1 million to buy a strand of hair was already ridiculous enough. How could someone offer 10 million? What was going on? Looking in the direction of the voice, Maldini Jr. was holding his number plate and smiling at him. The people present were going crazy. Up until now, the most expensive item in the auction had appeared. It was not gold, silver, or antique jade. It was just a strand of hair. How could they explain this? Looking at the number plate in Maldini Jr.'s hand, Zheng Hongliang and Sun Qian were dumbfounded. They could not describe their feelings at the moment. Damn, 10 million to buy a strand of hair. Is this foreigner crazy? Does he have too much money? Naturally, Maldini Jr. was not crazy. On the contrary, he was a very shrewd businessman. The reason he offered such a price was to thank Qin Haodong for curing his father and son's illness. Secondly, it was a very shrewd investment. If Qin Haodong was in a good mood, he could casually give them an elixir that could not be bought with any amount of money. Because of this, he did not hesitate to offer 10 million. Zhou Xinzhu glanced at Qin Haodong next to her and her eyes flashed. What are you doing? Qin Haodong said vigilantly. I'm considering if I should pull out all your hair. It can be sold for 10 million. Even if it is exchanged for gold bars, it is not as valuable as your hair. Qin Haodong did not expect this to happen. 10 million was indeed not a small number. Many families in Wuxia could not see so much money in their entire lives. The auctioneer felt that his strength had been exhausted. He did not want to talk nonsense anymore. He raised the auction hammer in his hand again and shouted, 10 million once. 10 million twice. After that he was about to knock the hammer down. In his opinion, no one could offer a higher price. 100 million. A voice resounded through the hall. The voice was very clear and pleasant to hear, but it was like a thunderbolt. The people present were scorched and could not believe their ears. The person who offered this price was the host of today's summit, Yi Qing, the number 2 figure of the Haodong group. The reason why she came up with such an idea was that she could get a strand of Qin Haodong's hair to do a DNA test with Chu Xuanyue's hair. It was a good idea. She could complete the paternity test without disturbing Qin Haodong. But she didn't expect that before she bid, there would be such a fierce bidding. The price was directly raised to 10 million yuan. In order to achieve this goal, let alone 100 million yuan, even if it was 1 billion yuan, she would not hesitate to take it out. She was determined to get this strand of hair. Silence. The entire venue was silent. 100 million yuan to buy a strand of hair. This was too much. God, what on earth were you trying to do? There was no doubt that Qin Haodong's hair would become the most expensive hair in history. It was unprecedented and would never happen again. Zheng Hongliang's face was even uglier than if his father had died. He took out a high-quality mutton fat jade bracelet and barely sold it for 5 million yuan. In the blink of an eye, a strand of hair had been sold for 100 million yuan. They were both young people in their 20s, but the gap between them was too big. Just now he wanted to take the opportunity to humiliate Qin Haodong, but now he found that his dignity had been completely trampled under his feet, or it could be said that he had no dignity at all. After a long time, people came back to their senses, and the venue fell into a burst of noise again. What's wrong with President Yi? Is he crazy? Spending 100 million yuan to buy a strand of hair? I don't know. Could it be that he likes that gigolo and wants to make him happy? What on earth does Qin Haodong do? Why does President Yi value him so much? Zhou Xinju whispered in Qin Haodong's ear, "What's going on? President Yi doesn't want to keep you, does she?" Qin Haodong said with a wry smile, "If she wants to keep me, I hope she will give me the 100 million yuan directly instead of donating it." In the end, the auctioneer hit the last hammer of the auction, and Qin Haodong's hair was finally sold for 100 million yuan. Until the end of the auction, the most expensive price of the other auction items did not exceed 10 million yuan, let alone catch up with his 100 million yuan. Compared to before the auction, Qin Haodong found that many people looked at him differently, as if they had the urge to rush over and pull out his hair. At the end of the reception, the guests at the scene dispersed one after another. Qin Haodong also said goodbye to Yi Qing, Maldini Jr., Yagyu Yukaim, and Kim Ji-hyun, and invited them to attend the opening ceremony of Lin's jewelry tomorrow. After they left, Yi Qing brought the most expensive strand of hair in history and hurried over to Shanghai Central Hospital. She had already arranged everything, and there were doctors on duty waiting for her. Half an hour later, she hurried back to the hotel with a DNA test report, then took out her mobile phone and dialed Chu Xuanyue's phone number. From last night until now, Chu Xuanyue had been in a state of extreme excitement and had no intention of sleeping at all. After hearing the phone ring, she immediately picked it up. "Xiaoqing, how is it? Is there any progress in the DNA test?" "It's done. The test results are now in my hands." Yi Qing's voice was also full of excitement. Chu Xuanyue asked nervously, "Tell me quickly, is this my lost son?" Yi Qing said excitedly, "The test results show that your DNA is 99% similar to Qin Haodong's. That is to say, he is the stolen son." After that, Chu Xuanyue's excited cry came from the other side of the phone. "Son, my poor son, I finally found you." Chu Xuanyue was already choking with tears. She had been separated from her son for more than 20 years. Now she finally knew where her son was. How could she not be excited? Yi Qing waited quietly while Chu Xuanyue vented her excitement. After a long time she said, "Well, sister, don't cry. You should be happy to find the lost little Haodong." Chu Xuanyue said excitedly, "I don't care. I must see Haodong and my son. It's been more than 20 years. I haven't seen my son for more than 20 years. Sister, don't get excited. It's not the time for you to meet." In contrast, Yi Qing was much calmer. "No, no one can stop me. I have to see him even if it's from a distance." Yi Qing said, "If you come to Shanghai to see someone so rashly, you will definitely attract the attention of the Chu family. Are you sure you won't bring the masters of the Chu family? If Haodong's identity is exposed, I'm afraid this will be the last time you and your son will see each other." Chu Xuanyue shouted angrily, "How dare they? If anyone dares to touch my son again, I will fight with him even if he is my father." "Sister, sometimes emotions are useless. Strength decides everything. Even if you want to fight with them, what can you do? I have the highest cultivation on our side, but I am no match for any of the 3 elders of the Chu family. So we must be calm, otherwise we will hurt Haodong." Chu Shenhua knew that what Yi Qing said made sense. She immediately cried again, "But I just want to see my son. We can meet, but we have to find a way to make it so that no one will notice." Chu Shenhua said, "Xiaoqing, you have a way, right? Tell me quickly, how can I see Haodong safely?" Yi Qing had indeed come up with an idea. She said, "It's been so many years. Although the Chu family is still paying attention to you, it's just a regular surveillance. It's not that strict. Haodong is a doctor, a very good Chinese medicine practitioner. He is known as the medical sage in Jiangnan. My idea is to pretend to be sick from now on, and then I'll invite Qin Haodong to the capital to treat you. At that time, you and your son can meet, or find a suitable opportunity to reunite with each other." "Good idea, this is a good idea," Chu Shenhua said excitedly. "Then why should I pretend to be sick?" Yi Qing said, "I've also thought about this for you. No one will believe you if you say that you are sick. Just say that you are so excited that you can't sleep and have a bad headache. See more doctors tomorrow and spread the news as much as possible." Chu Shenhua said, "Okay, I'll do as you say. You must bring Haodong to me as soon as possible." Yi Qing said, "Haodong is really excellent. He has his own business at a young age. Tomorrow his Lin's jewelry will open. After the opening, I'll talk to him and see if he can come back to the capital with me." "Okay, I'll wait for you." That night, Chu Shenhua was destined to be another sleepless night. Now she didn't have to deliberately pretend to be sick. Her whole body was in a highly excited state. 2 consecutive days without sleep made her head a little uncomfortable. The strength of the top families was unimaginable. The Sun family mobilized almost all the renovation forces in Shanghai. Within 3 days, the building of Lin's jewelry was completely renovated, completing an almost impossible task. The next day, it was the opening day of Lin's jewelry. Qin Haodong skipped school again and came to the company early with Lin Momo. Since his family's business was open, there were naturally many people from Daddy's security company. Ma Wenjue came early with the company's security guards to maintain order. After the preparation, guests began to come one after another. The first to arrive was Yi Qing, followed by Maldini Jr., Yagyu Yukaim, and Kim Ji-hyun. Half an hour later, other members of the financial summit also came to attend the opening ceremony. Almost all the people who attended the reception yesterday except for the Sun family and the Zheng family had come to support them. Since last night, Qin Haodong had become the focus of the entire financial world in Shanghai. Businessmen pursued profits. These people now understood that being on good terms with Qin Haodong would inevitably bring them huge benefits. Lin's jewelry was bustling. In the office of Shue's jewelry company opposite, a middle-aged woman in her 50s was looking at them coldly. Her name was Yen Xiaofan, the mother of Shue's jewelry company's owner, Shui Jindi. At this time, the door behind her opened and a young man in his 30s came in, followed by 4 or 5 people who were also dressed like hooligans. The young man was Yen Xiaofan's son, Shui Jindi. He yawned, patted his mouth and said in a dissatisfied tone, "Mom, why did you call me here so early? Can you drink less wine and flirt less with women? Do something serious." Seeing her son like this, Yen Xiaofan suddenly became furious. "Your father got a son at an old age. He hoped that you could revitalize the Shui family and bring honor to your ancestors, so he gave you this name. He left early and handed over the whole Shui's jewelry to you, but what did you do? Look at what you've done to the company now." You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.